Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it. He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the season finale of this virtual World Sports Car Championship. Historic season, 1964 cars, around 100 minutes of Paris. This is going to be absolutely amazing to go through. This is one that I've been looking forward to since we started the season all the way back in February. And it's the Autodrome de Linas Montlhery. And I'm going to say that one time. And from now on, you will just hear me say Paris or Paris because I'm a bloody American. So pronunciations in French are not my thing. But you're not here for my pronunciations. You're here to crown some champions. This is the closest championship battle we've ever had in CMS history going into a season finale. I've got a live sheet on my back end that I'm going to be plugging in positions and calculating points as we go. And fingers crossed at the end, every championship will be decided because as I will talk about later, it is not. But how did we get here? What got us to this point? Well, let's go ahead and run things down the calendar. We started all the way back in the 17th of February in Daytona. We've ran Targa Floria, Spa, Sebring, Le Mans, Reims, Capicarati, Capodiena, Goodwood, Nürburgring, Monza, Bridgehampton. We ran Monterey last week, a week ago, and here we are to round things out in Paris. It's been a long 10-month journey, and we don't have any championships crowned. So this is going to be a fun one to stick around. What is the track that will decide our champions here? Well, it's a wet, it's a fun Linas Montlhery here. It is a track just south of Paris, France, 12.5 kilometers, 7.7 miles, 100 years old this year. Built in 1924. This official layout is from 1925. 1924 is when the oval was built. We'll see some of that. And then 1925 is when we threw in this fun road course. But here's the thing. You still have to survive this race for it to matter. And what are going to be the things that we look at today? Well, the keys to the race as they stand. The best ducks survive the wet. Yes, it is raining. It is raining hard. And I'm going to add in the tagline that it's cold. It's in the 40s Fahrenheit. That's like very low in Celsius. Stay on top of your braking zones and watch the pit exit. This is a dangerous pit exit. This is some dangerous braking zones. You get in the rhythm, and then all of a sudden you need to slam on the brakes. And as if these 1964 cars were not challenging enough to drive, we're going to just add some messes in there as well. But let's look at the strategy for D3 and what does D3 need to do to survive, manage the fuel and slipstream, and avoid the damage. We've already been told there's going to be a couple of big shunts as this race goes. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing who survives it. 2 to 4 stops. We're looking at about 20 to 27 minutes on a fuel run, and all cars are equal. As if we couldn't make this championship a little bit more exciting. We've just got to go ahead and say that no car is ahead of the other here. Everyone is looking fairly equal. Well, in D1-2, it's the same story. Second verse, same as the first. Manage your fuel and slipstream, avoid the mistakes, and avoid the D3s. Good luck with that, but that's what you got to do. 15 to 20 minutes on a fuel run, 4 to 5 stops, and again, no car is going to outdo the other. That's where things get fun. Let's talk about the championship points as they stand. And I would like to start with the Div 3 AMs, because who is it on top? George Angelides. Who is behind by 0.2? Jerry Chen. Let's go ahead and just make this a fun little spicy race. George Angelides and Jerry Chen can't seem to keep themselves away from each other, so we've got to just go ahead and run that through. And now from there, it's John Mayer, Peter Meyer, Jason Whited, Barry DeMarzo, Dave Kors, Harslav Zakic, and Tom Mountjoy. In the team standings, look at this. Scuderia Cavalli and Flying Kiwi Racing, separated by a rate of knots. Depending on how these Div 3 AMs finish, this entire thing could be upside down by the end, but we'll keep you going as we go. Div 3 Pros, that's where things get fun. The only team championship is ME Racing Ferrari 250 GTOs, Smile Power Racing Shelby Daytona's in second, and the Rookie Monsters in third. But notice that second and third are separated by 1 point. Yeah, keep your eyes on that one. In the driver's standings, it's a 3-horse race. Nicholas Kirsten, Magnus Dahlgren, and Bradley Sellers. Those are the 3 that we've got to watch, and it's just 5 points to separate them. JT Tammy down in 4th, Vuder de Bruin in 5th, Timon Suvic in 6th, Ross Smith is up into 7th place, Ethan Funk in 8th, Tom Lane in 9th, Mike Bell in 10th, and 21 drivers have driven in Div 3 this season. If I didn't say your favorite driver, be sure to spot them among that second column. Plenty of action to be found here. Congratulations to ME Racing and the Ferraris that have taken the team standings, but the driver standings, just throw that one up in the air too. We'll find out at the end of the race how that goes. It's going to be very interesting. Let's look at Div 1-2 AMs as it stands. And as Div 1-2 AM stands, it is Adam Gray and Eric Monet that are looking there. Eric Monet had a DNF, so that kind of sets things through. Eric to win needs the win and needs Adam to DNF. For Adam, he's just got to finish the race, and theory in a good spot. That will be interesting, and it'll be the first title for either of them. It doesn't matter who wins. It's a first title here in the VWSC and CMS Racing. Michael Locke in 3rd, Fernando Ferreira in 4th, James Bowders in 5th, David Baccaceladon in 6th, Tom Mountjoy, Philippe Ducardi, Santiago Dancourt, Luke Goodlife, Filippo Marazzi, Pavel Shermanov, Matthias Bogle, Stephen Miller, and Stacy Scott's the 15 drivers that have taken place in Div 1-2 AM. Again, that championship, it's not sealed, but it's close. We'll see how that goes. Now in Div 1-2 Pros, this has been back and forth all season, and we're going to go ahead and just make things even more fun. Aliko Busink and Dan Herlock, they've been back and forth all the way through, and this is where things are going to be interesting. 6.35 points separating, and we'll see how things go. Busink needs to finish 3rd or lower. Busink needs to be in 2nd place. There's penalties afoot, which we'll discuss later. This one's going to be who knows where. Ben Borman in 3rd, Becky Ely in 4th, Reese Gardner in 5th, Cameron Barker in 6th, David Junt in 7th, Oliver Day in 8th, Luca Tavernari in 9th, and Dan Kirby in 10th. 36 drivers have driven in Div 1-2 this season. Look at the team standings, though. Let's jump to that other column on the right, the team standings. There are 10 scenarios that are calculated out, that are in kind of hands, that could hand this to any of these top 3 teams, separated by 7.3 points. It could be the Lotus 23Bs that pull things out, Ben Borman and Becky Ely. It could be Strachan, Tavernari, and Herlock and Mike Bell Motorsports and the Alfa Romeos that take the team standings. It could be Joy Motorsports with Newman, McCoffin, and Busink that pull out the team standings. It really just depends. There's no telling how this one ends. And for me, Div 1-2 is really going to be where things go crazy. But of course, Jerry Chen and George Angelides, you can't discount that battle all the way up in Div 3 AM because they always find each other. They found each other all the way over in the Modern Series and the Historic Series. We just have to go ahead and make things interesting yet again. Everything is too close to call except for one division. So, I mean, this is going to be an insane race. I don't know how else to say it other than it's going to be an insane race. But I think that's enough of me droning on about the points and where things are at and trying to pronounce things in French. Let's bring in my friend here that's going to be with me. I've got Paul Glover in the ear, as always. It's not James Parfitt that's with me here today. It's Sagarbashi. So, Bakshi. Wow. I can pronounce
You nailed it.
Paris
It's
things.
not French, but you've got it nailed down pretty well now.
You
I'm
know what?
looking
It
forward to
works.
this event.
Pronunciations are not my A game, and I always blame it on being American. But you know what? Sometimes I can knock it out of the park and not even know it. It's your first
Yeah.
time here in the VWSC. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty excited about this one. This is a platform that I haven't seen perform before, but the championship standings are the one thing that you've gotten me excited for. Keeping an eye out for a lot of these drivers and a lot of these teams as well. Nicholas Kirsten, Magnus Dahlgren, as well as Angelitis and Jerry Chen. Just watching all of the top 10s in these categories go after it for the championship after what you said was a 10-month series that they've been running. This has been a grueling one for sure, with points coming and going just as they fall. And it's been very interesting to see the variation of tracks that they've been to as well. Some historic, some still racing today, such as Daytona and Sebring, Spa, Francorchamps, obviously, and some that are still running as much as this one is. I believe it's still been in effect for the past 100 years. Is that correct?
It has. It's been running races since 1924, and it still runs. So this is a track that has a very, very, very rich history. And of course, as all European motorsports goes, it's no surprise that this is a track that still exists. European motorsports tends to be like, as soon as they're there, it's huge. We'll talk to Ross Smith about his views of the season here shortly, because qualifying is getting underway right now. We did bring this in a few minutes earlier than we normally do here because again, it's the season finale. If there's ever a time you want to jump in and you really want to see it all, the season finale is where you want to be. This is going to be an amazing race. I can't wait. Good luck to Paul Glover in the background.
Yeah, and amazing that we've gotten 4 different divisions here and 4 different championships all up for grabs right now. This is absolutely phenomenal to see this come down to the wire for the final race. For none of them to be mathematically decided other than a single team championship right now is absolutely phenomenal to see. And boy, I am here for it and thrilled to be a part of this wonderful organization.
This is going to be really the one to jump on if there was ever one to jump through. Let's talk about some of the fun things that are going to be different here today. Well, it's raining. Let's start with the fact that it's raining. 6-degree air temp. That's how you convert 40-something degrees Fahrenheit into air temp. 6 degrees Celsius. 29-degree track temp. It's raining. These cars are so hard to drive. I can't emphasize how difficult these cars are to drive, fast and competitive on a good day. And now we're going to just throw them in the rain. I can't wait to see how this goes. Now, the race start, we do have an orange zone all the way up through basically just this first main straight. If you look on your screen here, the start line is on the bottom left and all the way up till you see that first right. You see the first right-hand corner, and then there's a right hand, and then a left that comes back. That left that comes back is the end of the orange zone. So that is all the orange zone we get at the race start. Now, it's a Le Mans start. And for those of you unfamiliar with historic racing and Le Mans starts, that means what we're going to make everyone do is go run a lap around outside of their house, jump in their rigs, and then take off. Not really. We don't do that. Everybody just starts in park from the lane, and then they go. There's no pace laps. There's no formations. There's no gridding. It is get in, go. So anything can happen on the race start because Le Mans starts are absolutely beautiful.
It sounds like it's going to be a scramble for sure to get through the race start. And of course, these drivers have electronic aids, right, Bradley? No, absolutely not. There were no electronic aids back in the day. So dealing with nearly freezing temperatures for the air temperature and the rain as well, these guys are going to be driving on banana peels for the better part of an hour.
It's going to be beautiful. 100 minutes driving on banana peels, and the rain isn't expected to go away. I'm going to actually double check our weather radar as we go. The weather is, if you're curious, it is just the reflection of what's happening in real life. So if you're wondering what the weather is right now in real life, well, currently pouring the rain there. 79% Precipitation, again, 43 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 degrees Celsius. As it goes, 16-mile-an-hour winds. The winds are even up there a bit, so I'm wondering if that will affect anything at all as they go along. It's gonna be probably the most challenging race of the season, and I will tell you right now, if I am a driver and I'm putting my entire team driver everything championship on this race, I'm gonna hope that I got a lot of practice in the past week.
Absolutely, but will that practice pay off? Because it'll be different from what they've been practicing to what they're facing here in the actual race conditions. And we're seeing some lap times come in, if I'm not mistaken, around the 4.5 minute mark. But the big thing that I'm curious about is their consistency overall. 100-minute race, like you just described for us. But will they be able to hold on for this entire stint without making a slip, trip, or fall? Because of the tricky conditions, each corner could potentially be different, as well as dealing with the lap traffic that they're going to come across. This is going to be very interesting.
This is going to be a lot of fun to watch through. We'll see how it ends up. Div 1-2 qualifying is underway, and something I'm noticing is every Alfa Romeo is slow. That's not the normal sign, and it's a considerable difference. Busink has a 4:53 in qualifying, and Becky Ely in the Lotus has a 4:57.5. So, I mean, there's some considerable time gaps there in the Div 1-2 and Div 1-2 AMs as they go. Of course, we'll still be waiting on Div 3s to run their way around and see how their lap times come in. It's a long lap, too, about 5 minutes or so for the Div 1-2s. It's going to be interesting to see the Div 3s. We'll see what their qualifying times look like. And typically with this series, what you can do is take those qualifying times at about 5 seconds, and that's going to get you an accurate race lap.
Very interesting. And 5 seconds, that's nearly 100%. Oh, well, it's more than 100% extra added to these qualifying times. And how many laps do you think that they're going to be able to do again for every single stint? They said it was going to be about 4 or 5 laps. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what we're looking at in the strategies is we're looking at about 20 to 30 minutes in Div 3 and 15 to 20 minutes in Div 1-2. I am going to add a little asterisk to that for the Lotus, though, because as we've seen time and time and time again through the season, that Lotus 23B has a tiny fuel tank. So they may have to pit a little bit more than that, but they are showing pace here today. So we'll see how things go. Looking at all of our drivers that are here through, as we look through, Kirsten's here, Dahlgren's here, Bradley Sellers is here. Of course, we know George Angelides is here, Jerry Chen. I do see in the server, I believe. Now I've got to double check myself. Yes, Jerry Chen is in. Looking through Busink, Herlock's there. So it looks like all of the key players that need to show up today are here today to really, really set this championship off.
Really looking forward to this one. The competition is going to be tight. And like you said, driving that Lotus 23B Ford is going to be Becky Eli, excuse me, and for the Fruttigio Monsters. And I believe they won their championship already, or they still in the run for their championship. I cannot recall. There are so many close battles to keep an eye on. They are still leading in P1 in the Div 1, Div 2. They've got 95.35 points to their name, leading by just around 1.95 points over the Mike Bell Motorsports Alfa Romeo team. And then the Joy Motorsports is 7.3 back. Thank you very much for showing that on screen. It is a beautiful championship to behold. And we see Becky Ellie in the 4th place, Ely with their championship. And man, it is going to be a close run to get to the final step of that podium, only separated by 0.15 of a point from the rest of that podium position where Ben Borman is sitting right now.
Yeah, and I'm looking back across the season as things stand now. The big thing that stands out to me is that Busink, there in the lead of those Div 1-2s, has 3 wins and 6 podiums. Or 3 wins and then 3 additional podiums. And has been consistently in the top 5 the whole season, with the exception of Bridgehampton. That's the big one where I see that he wasn't. So it's really interesting to see just how close all of this is. It's going to be, I mean, man, I don't know what else to say other than well, and don't click wrong buttons is the other thing to learn when you're setting up here. So looking things through here, again, the track's going to be a lot of fun. The Autodrome Speed Ring, of course, we don't take that, but we do use a portion of it as it stands to run around and get back onto the front stretch, out of the back stretch. There's a lot of corner names here that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, to be honest with you. Out of just pure respect to the French language and me not wanting to pronounce something wrong. But one of the other things I will point out is that a lot of this connects into public roads. So this is very much a street circuit if we've ever had one.
Yeah, this is definitely looking like it's going to be a street circuit. Even in the thumbnail that we can see right in front of us, there are just guardrails and trees. This is definitely not a grade 1 FIA 1 level circuit, to say the least. This is going to be one of the most historic events that I've ever seen live action racing going down. This is basically a glorified circuit of Le Mans, if I've ever seen one. A nice deep replica, and it has some similar corners as well. The Le Breu hairpin, Le Foyer corner, excuse my pronunciation, but long straightaways here, and even an Ascari curve and some banking like we've seen at Monza as well. So this is going to be very interesting circuit. I cannot wait to see the action take place over the 100-minute race that we're going to be watching here with the VWSC Historic Championship. And this is going to be one heck of a finale for sure.
It absolutely is. So apologize if I start yelling near the end, but if there's ever a race for me to really yell, this is the time. Paul Glover will turn me down accordingly and make sure that my voice does not hurt any eardrums. Little tidbit from Paul Glover in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't hear him, but I can. I love his voice. I've loved his voice since February, and I'll love his voice for the rest of my life. In 2010, the Speed Ring played host to Ken Block's Gymkhana 3 video, which was an advertisement for DC shoes. So if you think that you know this track, you probably do, because if you're anything like me, Ken Block, Leah Block, 10 out of 10 motorsports and 10 out of 10 drivers, they know what they're doing. Leah Block, of course, just signed for Williams for F1 Academy for another year, I believe. So that is exciting to see through on the real life motorsport front. And I won't spoil too many things on the real life motorsport front either. We'll keep all of these secrets for post race here. And speaking of which, we get the fun pleasure at the end of the stream. If you're here wondering, okay, so we're on the season finale, so what happens next year? What's SGS got in their pockets for next year? Well, I've known for a while. Paul's known for a while. We haven't told James Parfitt, and we haven't told our lovely co-commentator here, Mr. Bakshi. So at the end of the stream, after the championships are decided, after the interviews are out, after we hear all of the excitement, the heartbreak, everything through, we will debut it. Don't worry. Stick around. You're going to want to know.
One of the things I'm noticing is the track temperature is also starting to fall. I believe it was at 30 degrees just a few moments ago, and now we're tumbling down into the 29s. Will the temperature continue to drop here? And what time is this event going to be, Bradley?
Yeah, so I would anticipate the temperature going down. There's the word I'm looking for. As far as time of day, it is live time of day. So it is going to be pretty interesting to see how that handles out here. Because, of course, the 100 minutes is going to run through. We should see the track cool as the day goes on here, as things kind of sit. I don't have a good answer for how that's going to end up, though. It's going to be real interesting. Again, maybe near the end of the race, the rain will start to dissipate a little bit. We'll start to see the rain go down, but I wouldn't bank on it. I think the drivers just need to plan on bringing a change of socks after the fact as it stands. Ross Smith, I believe, has now joined us. Perfect timing there from Ross. So we're going to bring Ross in for a moment. And Mr. Smith, Mr. Century Racer, how's it feel to be here at the season
Century.
finale?
That's, I guess, a way of putting it. But yeah, it's good to finally wrap this thing up, put it to bed, and get ready for the next one.
We've
Did I lose
gone.
you? Oh, there you
No,
go.
no. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. We've gone since February. If you think
January.
back to Daytona, did you ever expect the championship to be this remotely close?
I actually kind of suspected that it was going to be down to the last race, at least for half of the titles that are going through here. There are just so many going on, and the level of competition this year is so high. There's just no way that it wouldn't be down to the wire at the very last race.
I'm wondering when we look forward, what is going to be, other than, of course, just keeping the car on the track, keeping the car moving forward. Again, easier said than done for me. What's going to be the big championship decider for some of these teams? What's going to be the big thing that they have to keep in mind through this race?
Um, Stay on the island, almost literally with as much rain as is out there. It's so dangerous. You cannot get off the track at all. You just have to take it easy. You cannot push that little bit extra, or you face the wrath of the track. So it's going to take a lot of concentration and a lot of consistency going through the entire race for each one of these drivers. And if they're on top of each other at all during the opening segment, that's going to put a lot of pressure on them to keep that mindset. And if they don't, you're going to see a lot of people taken to the wall, and the walls here are extremely unforgiving.
Yeah, and of course there is a storm that just made landfall, which is where all of this rain is from. Is it going to rain the whole race, I assume? I'm looking at a weather radar, and it doesn't look promising for any sort of dry running.
No, it's pretty much going to be right to the end. I guess it's a good thing it's a timed race, because if it were for distance like it was back in the day, then it would go for at least until the rain stops, just because it's pretty wet, and it's a very long track, and there's those braking zones are very long. Even in the dry, there you got to really be on top of them. It's very easy to miss that. And if MNRL on Tuesday is anything to go by, those who just really stay on top of each and every corner are going to be the ones to make out on this one. Because yeah, even if you see some of those drivers, they end up getting like half a lap ahead of the competition. It's only going to take one single instance when one corner is a little bit longer than what they thought. Maybe they thought the car was doing a little bit better. Maybe the rear tires are just a few degrees warmer than what they were before, and then all of a sudden you're offline and carrying too much speed into a spot that's going to be detrimental.
So with that being said, of course, the strategy corner, we said all cars were fairly equal. Does that still stand for this race?
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of still standing, but sort of in a different perspective, just because rain is the great equalizer here. And even drivers who, maybe they're kind of punching above their weight, I guess you could say, they have an opportunity here to really shine. If they're able to stay consistent, take it easy, keep their car together, stay up on the track, they can be the ones that are just going to be the underdogs in each one of these class fights. So keep an eye on anybody who's shown good pace, or at least shown very good consistency, because they'll be the ones to stand and rule the day.
Going to be interesting to watch here as things go. Ross, warm-up just started. We're going to work down the grid. It is a Le Mans start today. Anything we should watch out of that?
So a small correction on that. It's just going to be a standing start. It's going to be a very packed grid. And with any standing start, you always have to look out for chaos. The cars are all over the place here, just because as far as the mixed grid results are going to be, everyone's going to be on top of each other. And going into turn one, we saw even in the dry, the top of Div 1-2 is going to be right on top of the back of Div 3, at least in that opening segment. And with the rain as it is, that's just going to mix things up even more. So as far as predictions go today, I can't really say, because it's just going to be everywhere.
Awesome. Well, Ross, we're going to jump down the grid here. We're going to get things set up for this race start. We'll let you go in and jump for warm-up. Any other thoughts or anything before we go through this process here and settle out this season of VWSC?
I guess make sure you got a good drink and a good snack. Get ready for the show, and afterwards, we'll go through our post-race fun times, and then we'll be able to take a look at what's coming up for next year for VWSC.
That's the part I'm excited about too. But before we do that, we got to get through this. So Ross, we'll catch up with you later, sir. Keep the car on the track, and good luck today.
Thank you much. Good luck, everyone in the booth. Sorry, great to meet you, and Paul, keep them honest.
Paul Glover trying to control us. That's a funny joke from Ross Smith. If you've seen any of the VWSC this season, Sagar, it is Paul Glover can't control us. He's usually the one causing the problems. Let's be honest. That's how things go.
You can mute us, but you can't keep us down, Paul, in the background there. Thank you very much to all the love and support that Paul's been giving us, as well as Bradley Dalton, making this a warm welcome here at the VWSC and getting me all warmed up for this historic championship. You guys are a phenomenal team to be a part of at JP Broadcasting, and thank you very much for having me again.
Be careful. Don't let Paul's head get a little too inflated here. But of course, Paul does know what he's doing sometimes, most of the time. But with that being said, is the grid ready? Because if it is, let's run it down before we hit the standing start for this season finale here. And it is Nicholas Kirsten doing what Nicholas has done time and time again, putting it on pole with Elko Busink in second place there in the Porsche 904. And then I missed third and fourth place there, but Becky Ely is in P5. JT Tammy Oliver Day, third and fourth. Becky Ely, fifth. Woody DeBruin, sixth. Tony McCoffin and Scar Pope, seventh and eighth, respectively. Ninth place, Neil Wood. 10th place, Dan Herlock. 11th place, David Junt. And Luca Tavernari in P12. This will be a really, really fun mid-pack to watch. P13, Adam Gray. Michael Locken, 14th. Peter Meyer in 15th. George Angelides will start it in P16 in the Ferrari 250. From there, we're looking 17th place, John Mayer and Jerry Chin in P18. Philippe Ducardi in 19th and Jason Whited in P20. And you never know, they could be in the front by the end of lap 1. Alexander Scholes, 21st. Magnus Dahlgren, 22nd. Ross Smith in 23rd and Bradley Sellers in 24th. From there, we're going to go back to 25th place, which is going to bring us Mike Bell, Antonis Parpanopoulos, I'll try to pronounce that better later, Timon Suvic, and Oliver Zuman Newman in P28. From there, we're going P29, Gilles Lalonde, Stacy Scotts, and Eric Monet, the 31 cars that are going to be taking this grid, running this 100 minutes around Paris, and we'll see who is where, who finishes what in the end. 31 cars starting. How many will finish? I would like to ideally say all 31, but this is, of course, a wet race in 1964 historic cars. Mr. Bakshi, how many cars are going to finish? I'll let you make that prediction.
I will say that for the finale, I will say at least 27 cars will finish this race. And I'm going to be keeping my eye out on these Porsche 904s that are going to be zooming around, as well as these 250 GTOs. Some of my favorite cars, obviously the Shelby Daytona, close to our home here in the US of A. We've got to keep an eye on those. But man, this entire grid of cars is absolutely phenomenal selection. I cannot wait to see them go around. The anticipation for the past half hour has been killing me. Do we finally get to see this race start, this standing start here in the wet weather, in this rainy condition? And oh my goodness, the track temperature has continued to not only drop, but it plummeted like a stone. It was 30 degrees earlier for the qualifying session. Now we're seeing 14.3 degrees. How is that going to affect the drivers and their race start?
It's going to make things interesting because, of course, historic tires, not exactly the best things to warm up. Thankfully, they are more similar to road tires than they are similar to anything that Pirelli puts out or Goodyear puts out today. So hopefully we're going to see these tires fairly well deal with the cold temperatures. We'll see how things go. And I do want to pronounce Anthony's Paparinopoulos one time. So that is the correct way to pronounce that. And I do appreciate Paul Glover for sending me the phonetic breakdown in the background, because it does indeed make things easier sometimes. The commentator life is one of trying to pronounce names and sometimes not doing the best at it. So that is just the nature of what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in YouTube chat, I see Kim there. I see DSW964 there. And of course, Paul Glover hanging out in YouTube chat, as he likes to do while he runs things. See everyone there. Drop your predictions now for who's going to win what class. What driver are you rooting for? Who are you looking for? Who is going to make it big today? And who's the heartbreak of the day? I want somebody else to predict it, because I refuse to say names. I refuse to be the one to say anyone's name. Because, well, while I don't endorse the commentator's curse most of the time, I am aware that it exists, and I would not like that to go on a 2024 highlight reel for anyone.
How about I don't give you the commentator's curse, but I give you my prediction. I think that Jerry Chen is going to take it for the Flying Kiwis. I think that he's going to get one over on Angelides, however he is able to pull that one off. But I think Jerry Chen might really be able to pull this one off. I'm excited to also see the battle with John Mayer in the background try to take place, but I think Jerry Chen is really going to take this one away. I'm rooting for him. I don't know the guy. I don't know this championship, but I'm picking my poison now.
George, I would just like to point out, when you watch this broadcast back, I am not the one that picked him to fill in for James. James picked him to fill in, so his viewpoints do not reflect my own. Please do not fire me going into next year. I do want to point out, though, that statistically, maybe not the worst prediction ever for Jerry Chen. Jerry Chen did, of course, take the modern series against George Angelides, so he's going to be wanting the clean sweep here, modern and historic, for 2024. You never know how that's going to end. You just kind of have to hold your breath and look through, because, well, anything can happen at any time. I will be keeping the sheet in the background. I'll be keeping that updated, so that way, as the race goes, we'll start looking at that probably about 20-30 minutes in. We'll try to do some live calculations, get some ideas of who might be where, and we will provide that out in the YouTube chat, so that way, if you are interested in taking a peek at how the commentators are live calculating out points, well, we'll share that out, so that way, if that's something you're interested in, you can take a look at it.
Amazing. And I'm sorry, Angelides, for giving you the commentary's curse. Hopefully you guys want me back for next season as well. And I'm looking forward to see what you guys have come up with for the following season. In any way, shape, or form that I get to be a part of it, I would be absolutely thrilled, because this one looks like a humdinger, a banger. And the way you guys have set this championship up with the points being so close, I don't think I've ever seen a championship series come down to the wire this well at the very end. So I am extremely excited to see all of this go down, and I am ready to cheer on my boy Jerry Chen.
I was just sitting here thinking in my head, I can't think of any modern racing championship that's come down to the wire like this, where there's not a clear favorite in any category or any point. It's very unusual, but I accredit it to the nature of these historic cars being so difficult to drive. They're balanced, but they're so wildly different at the same time, and it makes things very exciting. We've got about 5 minutes of warm-up left. It looks like cars are starting to run a couple of laps here on this wet track, try to get their bearings around this 14 degrees Celsius track temp, and get an idea of how their cars are going to handle. Now, car handling is one that, again, all of the cars handle very differently, very wildly, and it's kind of just pick your favorite. I will forever regret saying that I don't like the Lotus at the start of the season. I didn't like the look of it. I still don't like the look of it, but I definitely like the way it drives. It's a fun little nimble car with a tiny gas tank. We've seen it take some wins through the season. I'm very, very interested to see how the Lotus handles this track. It is a little bit longer than what we usually see the Lotus handle well and win on, but there's twisty sections, there's long straight sections, and I think it could balance out pretty well as a good day for them. You pointed out the Porsches as well. The Porsches could be interesting to watch as well. They tend to be more well-rounded in their setup, but it's anyone's guess how it goes in the Div 3s. That's really where I'm kind of just like, I don't know how that's going to go. The Div 3s are the ones that I kind of look at and I go, any of these cars have an advantage. The big thing is the Corvette has a huge fuel tank, so they might be in a good spot. But of course, it is the heaviest, so it kind of messes itself up in that same regard. It's all going to be interesting to watch and see how it goes.
And you had mentioned that the Lotus has one of the smaller fuel tanks. So mentioning that it's going to be balanced here coming down the straightaways, I really am curious about these pit stop strategies. We saw in the predictions that it was going to be around 4 to 5 laps, around 30 minutes or 20 minutes, with 4 or 5 pit stops required to get through the 100-minute stint that we're running. It's going to be very tricky for whomever's driving those Lotuses. It looks like Becky Eli? No.
Ely. Becky
Ely.
Ely
Thank
Van
you very
Born.
much. Of course, it's one of the easiest names to pronounce, and I'm still getting it wrong. It's and you took one of the hardest names, Paparenopoulos, I believe. And I am getting one of the easier name wrongs. But anyways, I'm interested to see how that team ends up making it through with that Lotus 23B Ford, with that small fuel tank on such a long track. Transit time here being very important throughout a long circuit. Transit time meaning the amount of time it takes to get from the pit entry to the pit exit, and to see how much time it's going to take to refuel that little thing and get it back up and going again. Tire warm up being one of the biggest issues that I think that car will face if it has to take an additional pit stop over the rest of the drivers, that will have warmer tires, that will have just some better rubber underneath them and be able to stay a little bit more consistent. Can you talk to me about the pit stop cycle and what you think is going to be going on?
Yeah, so a little bit of statistics for you here as it stands. The Lotus B23 has a 34-liter fuel tank and takes 12 seconds to fill up in the pit stop. 454 kilos out of a 5,800 RPM redline, 1340 cc Cosworth inline 4-cylinder engine. It's very well set up to do very well. It can turn on a dime, it runs well, but again, that small fuel tank can really set things up, but just 12 seconds to fill it up in the pit lane. So it can balance out if they can find time. We're less than 2 minutes to go in warm up. And looking at the Div 1-2s, there's a lot of good battles there. Div 3s, we touched on George Angelides, Jerry Chin. Again, we're gonna tread lightly on that one. At least I am. You've taken the bold approach. I'm gonna tread a little light here, but Bradley Sellers, Magnus Dahlgren, Nicholas Kirsten. I'm kind of curious to see out of the three of them. Of course, Kirsten is running through and in a very good position for this race. Has seemed very quick. Is in the Ferrari 250. Magnus Dahlgren is in a Ferrari 250, and then of course Bradley Sellers is in the Shelby Daytona. So it's Ferrari versus Shelby. I mean, I feel like I've wrote this one out of a movie somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. This feels like a Ford versus Ferrari type event. This feels like it's going to be an historic event for sure. Not only for the people that are out on track, but for the viewers as well that may be interested in joining this championship. And if someone wants to get involved in the VWSC, how could they go ahead and do that for next season? Is there a Discord that's available? Is there a championship sign up that's open to people? Is this even open to the public?
Oh, absolutely. Storm Gang Simulation does everything amazing to make this public. So if you are interested, there's a lot of links down in the description that will get you everything you need to participate. Again, remember, this is the final round of 2024. And then we go on, we are going to take a holiday break. I will tell you right now that Storm Gang, Ross Smith, George Angelides, everyone involved, the testers, they will be working hard all the way through the holiday season to get the cars ready for 2025, both modern and historic. Historics are in a fairly good point, I know. Moderns, of course, they are completely overdoing. Every car will be a Storm Gang Simulation production for next year. None of them will be the base R Factor 2 cars, which is a huge deal and will be amazing to see how that goes through. But the Discord, the YouTube, everything is down in the description, so check that out. We are prepping for this race start to set up here. The session is coming The starting light countdown is running. Let's get live pictures up on the feed, and let's look at how this looks here. We are reporting a 31-degree track temp here out of warm-up. Everybody's getting set up on the grid. We've went through the grid. It is, of course, Kirsten and Busink. It's a Div 3 and a Div 1-2 that are going to be together on the front row. I can't think of any time we've done that this season. So that's going to be an interesting setup. JT Tammy in third, Oliver Day in fourth, Becky Ely and the Lotuses in fifth. Again, we could see another Lotus win this season, as if we haven't seen enough of those. The Lotus has been dominant through this season. The Lotus 23B has 5 wins through the season, and then an additional 4 more podiums if I could count. So yeah, the Lotuses are through. We're away, we're going, we're gone. The race start is here, and look at the absolute carnage going through. This, again, it looks like Monza. It feels like Monza. We're not going onto the banking. We're going straight down the main straight. Look at the spray as they fight the rain here. The marshals waving the green flag. The spray is enormous, but we've got 100 minutes around Paris to get our way through, even though this isn't technically Paris. This is the Autodrome de Linas Montlhery as we go through, and in the lead is Nicholas Kirsten. JT Tammy in second place, back in the Div 1-2s as they go. Michael Locke is going to be running in 14th place overall, currently leading. In a Div 1-2 AM, Adam Gray and Ross Smith in the background are battling, but in the lead is Nicholas Kirsten, trying to pull a gap already, over a second on JT Tammy as we're now out of the orange zone. And look at how much the cars slide around. Mind yourself, this is our first braking zone. This is where everyone needs to be careful. Everybody tiptoeing around these historic cars. And Sagar, I think we've made it through without too much of an incident.
Wow, what an amazing show of skill and force by these drivers to be able to get through that deep braking zone without any sort of significant contact has been very important. But throwing a wrench into my predictions is going to be Angelitas. He is dominated and is pulled away from Jerry Chen by at least a couple of car lengths, and it is unbelievable how the 115 has just kept it on track, getting onto the throttle, and someone is off in the background. Who is that tumbling down the order right now? It looked like a purple car that was going through the forest there. With the 115 still tiptoeing around, trying to navigate this tricky track and on this warm-up lap.
Yeah, I believe that was Michael Locke, actually, if I had to have a guess, but I couldn't tell in the background. So Paul will be finding out who that was as we go. Nicholas Kirsten going through, Becky Ely up into fourth, Dan Herlock down into fifth as they stand. So this is continuing to shape things up. And again, we're looking at about 5 minutes to a lap, 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes a lap, maybe a little bit longer with the rain being here, but they did qualify in the rain. And that car in the background was Ilko Busink in the Porsche 904. And it's we'll see if we can figure out how that happened, but as we go through, Nicholas Kirsten continuing to just run through. JT Tammy in second, Vuda de Bruin in third, and we have a battle back in 10th between Neil Wood and Luca Tavanari in Div 1-2s as they go. I think it's interesting to see how mixed up Div 1-2 and Div 3s are here as we go back. We're going to have a real quick replay. This is what happened a moment ago here in the background, and let's see, it was side by side, it was hard on the brakes, and it was no brakes and just straight off into the woods. To grandmother's house we go. I think some fresh baked chocolate chip cookies would be better than racing in the cold rain.
Yeah, trying to find grandma's house out in the forest, not working out so well. That was our Div 1, Div 2 leader, if I'm not mistaken. So Becky Ely now taking the lead of that in the fourth place, Lotus 23B Ford. And that'll be a nice points haul for her, or for them, excuse me, as they drive this one forward, taking away a haul of points and potentially even getting the championship, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to do not the points positions for the championship, but possibly getting a podium for the championship, as the points difference is quite huge. But of course, we'll be doing the math kind of as we get to the halfway point of this race to see where the predictions will fly.
Jerry Chen is dropping time right now. Jerry Chen is down in 6th place as it stands in Div 3M, maybe taking an early conservative approach. There's somebody slow there on the lower side as we look here at Jerry Chen battling. I believe that is not going to be Becky Ely. That is actually going to be our other Lotus Div 1-2, Ben Borman, who goes through and around. Jerry Chen now making it through, and this is where we're going to start to see the power of these Div 3 cars come through. The Div 3s have a lot more high-end speed, a lot more power down these long straights as they go. So that's really going to be where we see things separate out. But hard on the brakes again through and around, and we continue along. And there has been some sort of a big crash back in the background, back through. We'll see what happens here, and this is why we had a slow-moving car. Ben Borman here we follow, and what happened here through? Well, everybody tiptoeing, everybody being nice and pretty and smooth and tiptoeing, and Ben Borman, I mean, that's just an absolute shunt through. Everybody locks up the brakes. That's the number 40 going through, and that is not what you want to see. The number 40, of course, being, as soon as I can look at my number sheet, I'll tell you who the number 40 is. That's Eric Monet is the number 40. So Eric Monet now down in 31st place on the day. We continue along, though. Wouter de Bruin has found his way up to second in class, is running along here, and is trying to keep JT Tammy behind and just stay nice and smooth. And other than a couple of moments here, it's been pretty well good tiptoeing early on.
Borman touched my friend Jerry Chen, and Bruin, oh my goodness, sends it off into the grass not one time, but almost twice in a row in that number 19 car. Getting squirrely whirly all over the place now. And boy, oh boy, talk about driving on banana peels. That number 19 looks like it's got banana peels for tires at this point in the race. But of course, we're looking at that accident from earlier. So squirrely on the brakes. It's unbelievable. Can that car even get stopped? And when it gets on the throttle, it looks like it's even worse. It is absolutely amazing how these drivers are keeping it on the racing surface at this point in time. But looking back at that accident again, still I'm going to complain about my friend Jerry Chen getting touched in the rump there and getting pushed off circuit. And I'm going to say, you know, he's just biding his time. We've got an hour and a half left in this race. Jerry Chen is 19 seconds off the pace. He's got some time to gain off the leaders, but conservative. Pacing yourself, driving within your limits. We've talked about this during the qualifying session. We're going to see drivers slow down their normal race pace over this entire stint because they want to just stay alive. And I think that's what Jerry Chen is going to want to do. He's just going to want to stay alive right now.
Staying alive is the name of the game, and I tell you right now, it is easier said than done as we continue along and around and keep things moving. This is where things get very interesting for me and where things really sort of settle things up. We're doing a little bit of live calculation. If you've checked out the sheet in the chat, and Becky Ely runs off. Becky Ely is off and straight into the woods, and that is not what we see here early on. Becky Ely getting it back together, thankfully those trees are pictures and not actual collision, and Becky Ely goes through the fence back onto track. Oh, and that was just the back end became the front end. That's never what you want to see, but that is, of course, how that happens. So now we've just got to wait and see what happens for Becky Ely. Becky Ely now down into 5th place in class as we run along here. Becky Ely was, of course, the leader before that moment.
And is Ely still ahead of who is that, Borman? Because that's the battle that they are in contention with right now for that 3rd place in the championship. We'll have to keep an eye on where Borman ends up. But now we're looking at Mike Bell getting it all right. He's getting so close to that barrier. Again, driving this number 12 car, and he is in 4th place overall in his classification, if I'm not mistaken, and leading in Div 3 right now, or excuse me, 4th place in Div 3, 15 seconds off the pace of the leader, of Kirsten. And we've got more stuff going on in the background. It is absolutely mayhem out here. We got 2 nearly identical looking cars driving nose to tail right now, and I believe that would be Sellers right behind him, chasing down Mike Bell, Smile Power Racing Team, Shelby Daytona. And
as they continue their way along, here we go for Mike Bell currently back behind. They run through. Teammates are going to be working together here. And there are your class leaders up on the top of the screen as we hit an hour and 30 minutes to go. 90 minutes left in just 100 minutes of racing. It's hard to believe we've only been through 10 minutes, and it feels like we've had so much action in 10 minutes as drivers are very much tiptoeing their way around this wet, mouthy circuit as it stands. And it is, yeah, it's going to be like this for a while, so it's just a case of tiptoe, hold on, keep the car together. It likes to slide in dry weather in the best of times, and, well, in the worst of times, the car is going to want to just do donuts. Absolutely crazy. We're going through Becky Ely trying to make a move here and find another position on the number 808. And as she looks here to get past Oliver Day, there's a little bit of contact. They come around, go through. Becky Ely is going to make that move.
Makes a nice move around that 808. I believe that would be Oliver Day that they were able to just get around now. And looking forward again, trying to make a move, chopping it up left, right, and center. Are we seeing pit stops already taking place for the 93 and the number 12? This is exciting. Already on the first lap. I wonder what the strategy will be for these drivers taking this quick splash and dash. They've done 2 laps before they decided to come and take a pit. That's a little bit early, but potentially fueling up so that towards the end of the race, they don't have to take a splash and dash towards the end and potentially finding themselves some clean air to drive out from these different packs of drivers. And this will be very interesting for the championship and how things will pan out towards the end. I was signed up for excitement. I was just signed up for racing, to be honest with you. I didn't know it was going to be this exciting and this hectic. There goes Oliver Day chopping it up like a NASCAR driver. And there goes Becky Ely again, looking for more moves left, right, and center. Can she get the power down? I think so. Up the inside, making a long staring look up the inside, and almost touches or does touch the 808 potentially. And there's a yellow flag in sector 1 as that 808 of Oliver Day has gone off and into the barrier. Not sure if there was contact there between themselves and Ely, but the 808 getting worse for wear there, coming over that crest and potentially just losing out the traction.
It looks like there was maybe a little bit of corner-to-corner contact. We'll pull up a replay here momentarily and see if we can get an idea of what's where. And I didn't mention penalties before because, well, things were a bit crazy. But, of course, there were penalties to serve here for this final round. For previous rounds, Bradley Sellers, Busink, and Luca Tavernari all had stop holds for Bridgehampton penalties. Lalonde has a stop hold 10-second pending from Monza. And then, of course, Johnny Gutierrez has a stop hold plus 60 for Capodiena, and Mike Bell has a stop hold plus 60 for Capodiena as well. So there are still penalties to serve here. This is going to be the replay of the Becky Ely incident, and that is Oliver Day ahead. I don't know if Becky moved left or Oliver moved right, or if what happened, and actually no contact at all. Oliver lost it on his own. No contact to be found. Oh. That is not what you want to see, especially when you're running for the championship. So for Oliver Day, that is just a big moment there. Becky Ely, very, very apologetic to Becky Ely. I am for accusing her of contact there. Very clearly no contact to be found as Becky Ely moves her way up into 4th place in class here.
And we're going to call Becky Ely the Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Intimidator now. And just looked at Day and caused him to have that incident. And it was a little bit what I called earlier, just looking at the crest. And is someone off there moving out of the way for Ely? Couldn't quite tell. I thought there was a slow car moving off on the left-hand side, getting passed by a few, but Ely getting the best of it and got by Wood there. And now the 151 is chasing down Ely. And this is Neil Wood in that 904 GTS. And one of the cars that I said I wanted to keep my eye on because these are amazing looking vehicles. And here's another one, the 250 GTO Ferrari, just looking so nice. And especially with this weather that we have, you can just see the accents of the car, and they're spitting up so much spray. The visibility has got to be very limited. I wonder how these drivers are dealing with this. If we could possibly get an onboard shot of one of these cars, I'd love to see how much spray that they're getting from the car in front chasing them down.
I bet the onboard shot is going to be wild here. There's your onboard.
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
It's a good amount of spray that they're fighting through as they go. We see everyone holding on here. Well, on board with Jerry Chen. Jerry Chen trying to get that move done on the number 34. Jerry Chen is going to get the move done on Jason White. Actually, no, I lied. He's going to pull forward, look at it, and then get back in line for the next left-hander. Here they go. And again, look at the back end kick out on these cars. It's something I always point out, but the back end of these cars love to just kick out and go around and make things interesting. It's no wonder Ken Block recorded an advertisement for DC Shoes here. If this is how cars handle around this track, it does not surprise me to know that that happened. These cars are amazing, though, and again, we still have an hour and 25 minutes to watch this race figure itself out. We jump up front with Magnus Dahlgren here, and up in the front of Div 3, things are just smooth sailing right now. I think it's a lot of pace management.
100%. The pace management has got to be key, and a big wiggle there from Dahlgren coming in through. But it's the pace management. It's got to be about this consistency. The last thing you're going to want to do, especially as the gaps start opening up and you're not really racing another driver on track, unlike Jerry Chen, who is racing on track in the 5th place 66 right now, coming in through the deep banking section, dips out onto the high banking to finally get some visibility out from that spray and just carrying as much speed as possible through here and really closing down the gap and slowing down a little bit. Is he considering going in for a pit stop? No, not quite yet. And it's amazing how much these drivers are able to just stick to each other throughout all this limited visibility that we're facing. But Jerry Chen, and then look at the car get a little airborne through there coming down the front straight. These are absolutely amazing handfuls of vehicles to keep a hold of and start wrestling. Who is Jerry Chen now chasing down? That might be Scar Pope in the Div 1, Div 2 Alpine A110 and the number 21.
As we watch the cars get air, I love seeing these cars get air through it. It shows how fast and just how raw the cars are as they go. Look at Jerry Chen, and no, that is going to be... Oh, no, there's a tire in the background. Who is that? That is... Oh, that's one of the... Oh, that is, I believe, one of the... I think that's the Smile Power Racing Shelby. I just
was
can't
that
tell
Bradley Sellers, the number 93?
That is indeed Bradley Sellers. And then, of course, we've lost John Mayer in the Div 3 AMs, so John Mayer is now completely out of this fight. That's going to turn a championship on its head. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and mathematically, actually, John Mayer dropping is going to result in... I believe that might seal the team championship for Div 3M. I'll double check the math in a moment. We'll figure out what happened. Also, we lost Scotts. We lost Stacy Scotts in Div 1-2M. We've lost Ben Borman.
Oh no! Oh no! If we lost Ben Borman, then that is going to shake things up for the team championship for the Div 1, Div 2. And here we're watching Sellers, if I'm not mistaken, come through, get airborne, and then collects one of the Daytonas. Oh, man.
That was Mayer, and then that was Sellers that goes through. John Mayer's tires gets laying off. That is insane. Ben Borman had a VR malfunction, and then that was Ben Borman spinning in the background. So... I believe that was Ben Borman just behind what we just saw, spinning through. So, yeah, Ben Borman out through. So, drivers racing in VR, sometimes you're going to have dangerous moments like that. And unfortunately for Ben Borman, that is the case now. That puts Ben Borman out of this race as well. So what that means is that shakes things up quite a bit. It does mathematically put the Futigo Monsters out of the team championship and hands it to Mike Bell Motorsports, I believe. So this has been Borman having his moment, and you can see just gone. And good avoidance from the number 2 there of avoiding Ben Borman's skateboard that just decided to go through. That was Michael Locke.
Wow, what a kickflip out of these cars. These physics are absolutely phenomenal, and to see these cars have such amazing physics and to see tires falling off In the other green car, the other Lotus 23B4.
So when I did misspeak before, it wasn't Ben Borman that spun before. That was Ben Borman we saw down the straightaway DNF. So that was Becky Ely that spun behind Mayer and Bradley Sellers. This is going to be the replay of what happened to Becky Ely. And yeah, this is just all on her own spinning. So this track is proving to be a whole nother monster that I wasn't expecting. This is, wow. This is proving to be a whole nother mess. But it's amazing to see the drivers here showing up, challenging, and continuing to go through. And look at the slide on Jason Whited here. As Jason Whited battles Jerry Chin. This is your boy Jerry Chin trying to go through, and man, it's close racing.
Jerry Chen is doing an amazing job right now driving this one forward, and we've got another 2x2 battle right now. We've got two cars out in front, Jason Whited leading over Jerry Chen, my man himself, and then who are the cars behind? That'll be Neil Wood and Scar Pope, if I'm not mistaken. The Porsche and the Alpine battling it out between the two of them. We've got two amazing side-by-side battles that have just concluded coming through the banking section, where you have to basically drive nose to tail, and then we'll see some braking action coming in towards the first braking zone after turns 1 and turns 2, and then we'll see more action coming in through the old hairpin. And those are the names I'm sticking with. We're going to call the first kink turn 1, and the braking zone of the Gendarme corner, we'll call that turn 2, and then the Le Breux hairpin. Of course, excuse my French pronunciation of anything.
Peter Meyer is our next DNF through, and Stacy has said next season will be the season for Stacy in YouTube chat, and then says hi to all of us in the booth. Hi, Stacy. And there's another DNF. Peter Meyer. Becky Ely has now DNF. So that puts Fatigo Monsters out of the Div 1-2 championship. Oh, there are so many drivers having issues left, right, and center on this wet track. And Becky Ely's DNF, I have a feeling, was not of her own doing. As we go through, this is Peter Meyer. Oh! What?
Good golly, Miss Molly. What in the world just happened? That is a horrendous crash. That is a red flag if I have ever seen one happen. And the car goes flying into the air again, collecting another. This is absolutely mayhem right now.
All right. Well, that is interesting. The red car, not exactly sure who that was. It looked like it might have been an Alfa Romeo, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Michael Locke, if I had to put a guesstimate on it, but we'll see if we can't confirm in the background. Our current Div 3AM leader of Antonis Paparinopoulos is now also DNF'd. So Paparinopoulos is now our next DNF through. I knew this race was going to be challenging. But oh my God. And apparently I was bang on, spot on that Michael Locke was indeed the driver that was in the middle of that Becky Ely John Mayer chaos that we watched, or Peter Meyer, this chaos. And there it is. There's Michael Locke coming through. I mean, literally, what do you do to avoid this? You see a car upside down. You see a skateboard kick flipping. Not a lot you can do.
Hopefully not driving a direct drive wheel. That wrist will be banged up for sure. And then also skating by Ely somehow, some way after that initial bang up. Obviously damage is turned on for this event, and that thing is going to be seeing better days and have to get some repairs during the pit stop. Yeah, that bonnet is absolutely torn up for certain. And thankfully it has not lost an additional wheel.
A 7-10 split. I'm just gonna say a 7-10 split. You can look at the YouTube chat and figure out where that's from as we go through. Michael Locke is still running in that Alfa Romeo, though, leading in class. So a bit of respect there for the Div 1-2 AM driver. Jason Whited still putting some pressure here with Jerry Chen. They are 27 seconds down on George Angelides. I have a feeling George Angelides forgot to turn his weather on and is running a dry track while we're all running in the rain, because this is ridiculous from George.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous, and pulling away and ruining my championship hopes for Mr. Chen, unfortunately. But we're still seeing an amazing battle right here between Jason Whited and Jerry Chen. This one has gone on for at least the last better half of 10 minutes, I would say. We saw them basically 2 laps ago still battling, and they've continued to stay within just moments of each other. Looking at the live timing screen, what is their lap times? They're doing pretty much identical times. Jerry Chen's just a hair faster, but 3/10 doesn't mean much on a 4.5 or nearly 5 minute track. The fastest lap going out to Nicholas Christian with a 4:36.7. There's someone who has not turned their weather on for certain.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing to see the pace coming through for some of these drivers. You can tell the drivers that are very comfortable driving these cars in the rain, and you can tell the drivers that are really playing a game of survival here and really just trying to make these cars run it to the end. Still an hour and 15 minutes left to go. Anything can happen, but we have had some big moments here in the race as it stands. Div 3 AMs, we've lost Mayer, Meyer, and Paparanopoulos, and we have Angelides, Whited, and Chen running through. We've lost Stacy Scotts in Div 1-2 AM. We have lost Ben Borman. We've lost Becky Ely. Well, Becky Ely is still showing in the session, so maybe trying to get that car repaired and get back out. We'll see what happens with Becky through. Statistically, as we go through, I've just ran some of the numbers, and we're looking at how things are going. And as it stands right now, championships are swinging. Fatigo Monsters are swinging to 3rd place by 0.7. In the team standings, Joy Motorsports will be in 2nd, and Mike Bell Motorsports will be in 1st, and that is all because Dan Herlock has found himself in the lead by 10 seconds. In Div 1-2 AMs, it is as we expected. It is Gray over Monet. As they run now, it will be Adam Gray securing it with a comfortable 14-point lead. And again, if Adam Gray doesn't finish and Monet can run through, we could see that swing. That is statistically the most settled championship coming into this round. In Div 3, Nicholas Kirsten, Magnus Dahlgren, and Bradley Sellers. As they stand, Dahlgren is 3rd in class. Bradley Sellers is way down the order in class. Let's find out where he's at. He is currently running P8 in class. So as we update the chart here, it is running Nicholas Kirsten, Magnus Dahlgren, and Bradley Sellers. It's a 12-point swing to Kirsten against Magnus Dahlgren. And in Div 3 AM, we are running right now, it's George Angelides would take the Drivers' Championship by 5 points, and Scuderia Cavalli Ferraris with Jason White and George Angelides would take 12.5 points up on Flying Kiwi Racing in the team's championship. But again, they got to finish before we can declare anything. And as we've seen in 15 minutes, or in 25, 30 minutes, absolutely crazy. I don't know how this is going to end. This is insane.
Yeah, absolutely gutted for Borman and Ely to both be out of this one. I thought that Ely, with securing as many points as they possibly could, as we see Oliver Day getting a little bit sideways there, putting on their best version of the Hoonigans vehicles that they could probably endure. The 808 still getting sideways on entry to these corners, getting the maximum rotation out of these vehicles by applying the brake through the corner and really forcing that vehicle down into the asphalt is probably going to be the best way to get this car rotated. And then using the throttle pedal on exit to also spin that car around is going to be interesting in the rain. But how many people can still maintain their consistency going forward? I know Angelides right now is doing 46.9s, 446.9s obviously, and Whited and Chen are doing 448, so gap is increasing by around 2 seconds per lap. But is that going to be consistent over this entire race? We've seen a lot of incidents that you've described earlier on that have taken out a handful of drivers, so my prediction was wrong. I think if anybody took the under or the over for DNFs, they'd probably be in the right place. Here's George Angelides right now. I'd love to see how well he's doing on this circuit, as he's getting caught up by the number 33, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, just getting pushed around.
absolutely amazing to watch this go through. I love watching these cars. This has been the highlight of my Saturdays. The modern series has been fun, but the historic series, it scratches that itch of something different that you have here as we go. George Angelides here as it stands. That is the number 93 running through it. Bradley Sellers gets cleanly past George Angelides. I think George kind of let that one go and said, you know what, this isn't my fight. I'm fighting for a championship and going. And Becky Ely is back on track. Not a DNF for Becky Ely. Becky Ely currently running P10 in class, but of course Ben Borman is out, but Becky Ely 10th in class. It will swing things by 0.1 to put them second place in the team championship by 0.1 currently over Joy Motorsports. We'll see how that develops. Statistically, though, Futigo Monsters will lose their championship hopes of bringing home a team championship for that little skateboard.
Man, hopefully Ely can get some good luck and catch up to the cars in front. And here we're seeing the 151. No, that's not Scar Pope. Scar Pope leading the 151 right now. Trying to go and thread the needle is the number 12 going into the banking zone. Absolutely sent it there on the inside line. Unbelievable move as Scar Pope pulls over and out of the way of that hectic battle. Wanted nothing to do with it whatsoever. And potentially coming in for a pit stop. He's so far off to the right-hand side. And there it is. There's the first pit stop for Scar Pope.
So we're going to start pit stop cycles very quickly here and get things going. Scarpope in, going through. We'll see how long that pit stop lasts here. Neil Wood going through. Jerry Chen comes over the hill. Again, that's the most dangerous hill on this track. And we've seen several drivers just have solo spins there. And Jerry Chen has some good damage on the front end of that car as we go and continue along. Everyone's just trying to survive this race right now. It does look like things have dried up a little bit for the drivers, but not a lot. Not a lot, not enough to make a significant difference. And then again, the way these cars handle, I don't know if you would tell if it's wet or dry at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. They're still driving like they've got banana peels for tires. And I can only imagine that if the rain even stopped at this point in time, the track is going to stay wet for a significant amount of time because of how cold it is right now. We're late in the afternoon. There goes a little slip up for the car in front of Whited. And it looks like Jerry Chen was able to close down the gap by just a smidgems, but those windshield wipers are going faster than I could talk. And that 66 car, man, is pushing as hard as it can behind the number 34, looking for a possible gap anywhere that he can find a way past. But I think right now, biding his time, trying to maintain some consistency and pace, and then having a car that's in front of you that's running around the same laps as you, at least you guys know that you're safe right now. And you can find out where the braking zones are going to be. You can find out how the car is going to handle a little bit predictably before you get there. Maybe Jerry Chen is just waiting for a well-presented opportunity to make an overtake and not forcing the issue just yet. Still an hour and 8 minutes left to go. Plenty of time to get his second place contention, but Angelides just putting on an absolute masterclass. And there it is, side-by-side door banging. Excuse me, Jerry Chen says. I'm going to go right on through and collects Whited there, but Whited gains the position back at the exit of the corner as they touch. An amazing show to just show me wrong, actually. I thought Jerry Chen was just biding his time and waiting for a good opportunity, but then forced the issue coming into the hairpit.
Stacy Scott's game has pulled out a good point in chat, and I'm going to reiterate this. Chaos will ensue as soon as pit stops start. Preach it. Preach it, preach it, preach it. And Stacy, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with next year's historic cars and next year's modern cars if you choose to race there. I will tell you right now, I think the historic cars for next season, again, they're going to be a fan favorite. I've known what they are for a little bit, so I'm not going to spoil the fun. Stick around for the next hour and a half to find out as we continue along. And Jason Whited gets a big slide there. Jerry Chen comes around and says, you know what, thank you very much. I'm going to try to get the pass. And then he gets a back end kick out. Because why not? That's a sympathy slide if I've ever seen one. They both come through. They stay where they're at and tiptoe these Div 3s around the track, boys, because it's very, very close there. In Div 3 Pros, Nicholas Kirsten currently 22 seconds up on Wouter de Bruin and Magnus Dahlgren as they stand. JT Tammy 42 seconds back from the race lead. In the Div 1-2s, Herlock has an 8.5-second lead over Makoffovin, and then Wood is 38 seconds from there. Michael Locke and Adam Gray currently in Div 1-2 AM separated by 8 seconds. While the classes are somewhat spread out, I will tell you right now, there are still battles up and down this track that are continuing to develop, because as we hit this point of the game, this is the survival series of this race. This is where it's all about just hold on to what you've got, get a little bit closer to the end, and try to not bend the car on your own. Try not to have a single car spin. Try to avoid the walls and just keep it going.
Absolutely. And we're seeing Becky Ely down 2 laps to the leader right now. And Tavernali, I believe that's how that's pronounced, in the 37 Alfa Romeo Giulia, 1 lap down to the leaders, 53 seconds off the pace from the next car in front of the Div 1, Div 2 AM of Ducati. And then we have Bonnet, Lalonde, Pope, Gray, Locke, Newman, Wood, Busnick. And Newman actually just getting past Wood. Did Wood go into the pits just a moment ago in the number 151? I'm not quite sure, but the gaps between them is awfully close. 7/10, 8/10 of a gap separating Wood from Newman.
Yeah, looks like for Wood and Newman, they just kind of swap positions there. I'm not sure what might have caused that as they continue along. They're continuing to battle and keep things moving. Luca Tavanari as they go around here and it's just settling in. Jerry Chen still stuck in position behind Jason Whited, and it's 20 seconds the gap there, as even once it gets past, he's got to make up 20 seconds to George Angelidis. Again, not impossible, but very hard. But of course, when you have Jason Whited running very wide there and going through, taps the wall, Jerry Chen's going to try to make a move. He's got to avoid the rear bumper, little wiggle. And again, that same over the hill section that we've seen be a problem this entire race is continuing to be a problem time and time again, until the point where I feel like it's a Nürburgring compilation on YouTube. You just set up a tripod there at the corner, leave the camera running, and how many cars you're going to see wreck through a day? Cars are starting to pit now as we go. We'll see what happens here. Cars are starting to speed up quite a bit here. Nicholas Kirsten and Lalonde and Busink are starting to set faster times. Michael Locke has set a fastest lap time, so we're seeing times come down. I think the rain is starting to give a little bit of a lull here, and we're starting to see things dry up a little bit. We checked the weather radar, and it doesn't look like it. Should be. We're seeing a lower period of rain, but it is going to ramp up in about the next 30 minutes. I'm expecting the rain to ramp back up and things to get a little bit more treacherous than it is right now.
Chen is past now, and I'm waiting to see if George Angelidis will get caught up at this point in time. Looking at the last laps, it was still a 46.9 for Angelidis, and Chen with a 48.3. Angelidis is going to have to make some sort of mistake or lose his pace to be able to catch back up, for Jerry Chen to be able to catch back up. My prediction is looking all sorts of wrong right now, yellow in sector 1, but Angelidis still driving forward like his heart in his sleeve right now.
Yeah, as drivers continue to come through, Eric Monet ahead by 23 seconds on Locke, and they continue to just run things down. We're getting down past the first 40 minutes of this race. We're coming down to an hour to go here. And at this point, it is still survival. George Angelidis, though, leading by 20 seconds on Jerry Chen. But Jerry Chen is closing the gap as we go through. That gap is going to kind of ebb and flow a little bit, but it is coming down. It's hitting the 20-second mark. We'll see how much lower it can go as we go through. We got a replay coming up here. This is going to be a scary moment for Wouter de Bruin. Goes through again on the brakes, tries to brake and turn. Car says, no, thank you. I do not want to do that. And thankfully, de Bruin keeps it out of the wall, cuts it through the gravel, gets it back on track there. And that is at the hairpin on the back half of the lap. So gets it through there and continues along. And
there goes
there's
the
George
mistake for Angelidis.
George, you can't afford that.
I was wondering when the mistake was going to happen. He's running 2 seconds faster than Chen right now, and the gap has come down to around 18 seconds. It was at closer to 22 seconds just a couple of moments ago, but Angelita's making mistakes and hopefully not continuing them. I don't want to wish him any bad wishes, but he is making a little bit of a mistake here or there now. He can't afford to do that if he wants to walk home with this championship right now.
He cannot do that, but now the gap's opened up to over 21 seconds. So just as quickly as it closed, it's opened back up there. So I wonder if Jerry Chen has made a small error. So we're seeing the drivers that are really, really comfortable in the rain in these cars as we get another replay coming up here. And we check out this next moment here. That is Monet, and Monet is having a not so good day. Just doing a quick little pirouette around, a nice little pretty 360, and gets the car back facing the right way, back down the road as it goes.
A beautiful pirouette to get the car pointed in the right direction, and a big drift out of Chen as well as he avoids the pit lane. And was that Angelita's coming into the pits? No, that was not Angelita's coming into the pits. That was a different car. Jerry Chen in second place for the Flying Kiwi Ferrari 250 GTO, 26 seconds back. Monet is just DNF'd, unfortunately, after that beautiful pirouette. They were in first place in their league, or in their standings, and that will shake things up quite a bit, won't it?
It will. So that secures the Div 1-2 AM championship now for Adam Gray, regardless of if Adam Gray finishes. And that is the number 40 there. That's Eric Monet having another moment around, and then it's just back to the pits. That's race over. So Eric Monet, clearly something broke in that car suspension, and there was just no way to continue. Eric Monet out of this race. Adam Gray will secure the championship here today in Div 1-2 AM. And again, as a quick refresher, that is going to be Eric Monet's first championship here in the VWSC. So that is huge for Eric Monet to go through. It's a maiden title through, and now he's just got to, it takes the pressure off your shoulders, I think, at that point when you're in that situation for Adam Gray. You know that Eric Monet, the driver that could take you out of the championship, has gotten through, and now at this point, he's just got to cruise to the finish.
Absolutely. And if we can look over at the 17th, 16th, 15th position, it looks like Newman, Busick, well, Neil Wood's just gone into the pits, I believe. And so that gap has actually opened up to around 2 seconds, but Pope chasing down Daniel Herlock is just separated by a couple of tenths, and they're racing each other like their lives depend on it right now. The number 21 is chasing down the number 87, the Alfa Romeo, and they're awfully close on track. Getting caught in that spray is Scar Pope, driving the red, white, and blue, and this Alpine is just all over the place right now, coming over that little crest, able to keep the car nice, cool, and collected, not doing a pirouette of their own. But this is going to be a hectic battle. And what position are they in class? This is the battle for the lead in their class, if I'm not mistaken. The Alpine A110 in second place, in third place right now, and trying to find their way into second place.
Yeah, and as we go through here, look at the drift on the Alpine. Catch it, Scar Pope. Very good job to catch that car back together as it slid along. Good run. We're now officially under the 1 hour to go mark, so we are looking to run this race through. Another hour to go, ladies and gentlemen. If you need a refresh of water, if you need some popcorn, if you need a bathroom break, well, now might be the only downtime to really do it. Pit stop cycles are starting in Div 3. Nicholas Kirsten into the pits now as we go. So we're starting to see the Div 3s now decide that it's pit stop time as they go through. Vuda de Bruin has been in the pits once and is going to go through. This is going to be another replay here. Let's check out. This is the number 3 and the number 4. Oh, that is not what you want to do.
Self-inflicted wounds are going to be the bane of people's races, unfortunately, and it's just going to be mostly self-inflicted wounds. It's all the traffic and the damage from earlier on has settled down at this point in time, but the cars are still out there and going, and still under for that. I'm still over the estimate for how many drivers are going to finish. A quick replay of what happened to the number 16 and coming through off into the forest. And that'll be a track cut if I've ever seen one, for sure.
That is what you call being very thankful those trees are not real, because you can just kind of run through them there and thankfully not take out your race. And it tends to be very, very nice. Scarpope still trying to chase down Herlock here, but that gap has opened up a little bit more. Georgie Angelides, 19 seconds to the positive, trying to hold on. It was 2 seconds gained by Chen on the last lap here, and now the gap going back to 20 seconds as it stands. Ross Smith into the pits there in that P6 position for Div 3, dropping down the order just a little bit, and Georgie Angelides. I love the high banking here for these cars, just trying to run through and go. Ross, though, look at that number 00, aka the 100. This is officially his 101st race here in CMS Racing in the VWSC as we go through. And Ross Smith, of course, has already said that next season he'll be stepping back. He'll be taking a more leadership admin sort of retirement role. He might come and give us some behind the scenes in the booth conversations, be that former driver that every good commentator booth needs. And he is going to just step back, really focus on what Storm Gang Simulations is working on, and really, really try to hone in their products, hone in that craft. So for Ross Smith, this is just a final fun race and a final send-off here for the season. And he didn't say he'll never race again. He just said he wants a little bit of a break.
Chen now into the pits, and he is going to be stationary, it looks like, for around 30 seconds. But like you told us earlier, he was gaining around 2 seconds a lap over Angelides, potentially splitting this one almost down the middle. He's going to have to take another splash and dash towards the end of the race, I could only imagine. And the top three right now, Angelides, White, and Chen, Dahlgren in the Div 3, and Tammy, and then Kristen in the top three of the Div 3 championships. Div 1, Div 2, McCoffin, Herlock, and Pope right now, and they're all running their own races. Div 1, Div 2, Locke, Gray, Descartes, all leading in the top three there as well. But Magnus Dahlgren commanding lead right now, fastest lap of the race being a 36.7, not as fast as Nicholas Kirsten, who has done a 4 minute 35 seconds. Last lap around, it looks like he is lapping faster than the cars behind him in his class. And I want to point out Tony McCoffin, he is driving out of his league right now. He is leading over Mike Bell even in the Div 3 class in the Shelby Daytona number 12. And right now the lap pace is a 5:56 over 5:49. Mike Bell into the pits twice already. No, he's only pit once at this point in time, and it's looking like he is just doing so well. And I'm talking about McCoffin, because he earlier I couldn't even tell who was going to be in first place. Was it Herlock or Pope? Because McCoffin was so far out in the lead in that number 339.
Yeah, and as we continue to watch this race and these battles develop, again, 53 minutes left to go. We're at the point where drivers are really trying to breathe through and just relax and keep things going. They've got to keep smooth and consistent. In order to finish first you have to finish. And if you're Tony McCoffin just kicking the rear end of that car out on traction, you're going to breathe a little bit. He's got 12 seconds on Herlock, so you can tell that the drivers are really starting to monitor pace. They're monitoring what they're doing, when they're doing it. Jerry Chen, 90 seconds back on Angelides, but of course, that's after one pit stop, and Angelides still needs to pit, and that could change things significantly, too, if Chen is able to just really dump the throttle, get things going, make the undercut work here. Dahlgren now into the pits from the leads of Div 3, and JT Tammy will inherit the lead there as they continue along and continue around. This race is really coming alive here in the middle of the run as we just all breathe. We take a second, we take things through and keep this race going. Tony McCoffin here really showing good car control in that 904 as it stands. And I tell you what, if this is how this season ends on this crazy of a race, it puts the bow tie on what's been the perfect season since the beginning. Of course, we started again all the way back in Daytona was, the first thing back in February. We kept things going. Sebring, Targa Florio in March. April was Spa, Le Mans in May. In June, we ran Reims. In July, we ran the Coppa Karate. In August, we had both Coppa Diena and Goodwood. We had the Nürburgring and Monza in October, Bridgehampton in November. We, of course, had Montlhery just a week ago. Every race in this season from top to bottom has been something different, something exciting. It's catered to a different style of car. It's catered to a different style of race. And it's not been dominated by just one driver. It's been amazing to see just how close, how competitive things have been, and how well these cars have really made this season sing. Again, it really goes to say how well SGS has done their craft, done their homework, tested these cars, perfected these cars, and made things very, very fun through the season for it to be all the way in December. And we still have this car, this race, these series running as hard and as competitively as they are, to the point that I'm still doing manual calculations to figure out championship winners. So it's a huge, huge testament to everything that the VWSC, that CMS, and Storm Gang Simulations have put together here.
100%, and bust out that TI-85 graphing calculator to make sure that you get the calculations right, of course. But the fact that there are 31 drivers that are all taking to this championship right now, Angelides and Whited both into the pits right now, so we'll have to see if Chen can bust out this undercut. Keep an eye on that over and over again. Jerry Chen coming around the backside of the track, and we see the pit stops of Whited and Angelides right now. But 31 drivers make it to the end of a 10-month championship. Oh, someone missed their pit stop. Going back and forth, pulling out a little bit of an Austin Powers move, trying to find the right lollipop to find a stop at. Oh, man, that cannot be great for whoever's championship that is. Still unable to find the lollipop, man. Oh, man, going back and forth. This is going to be so grueling for their standings, whoever that is. Is that the number 82? That can't be Whited, is it?
I can't tell the number, honestly. I'm trying to look and tell who that might be in the pits. So I don't know who that is. We'll figure that out here momentarily as we go. That's Jason Whited on your screen to the bottom right now. So yeah. There goes George Angelides out. So Jerry Chen has pulled a little bit of an undercut here, it would appear. Or no, sorry. George Angelides is still ahead of Jerry Chen? Yes. Okay. There we go.
16 seconds back, yeah.
It has come down a little bit, though. So that's important to note through. But now you've got Jerry Chen battling through with a Div 1-2 car as they go, and we keep things moving. I don't know who that was in the pits, but of course, you know, you do have to watch yourself in the pit stalls because there is sometimes a little bit of overlap, and you'll have multiple cars assigned to the same stall that have to just mind how they get in there and what they do. So we'll have to keep an eye on who that might have been, what might have happened as we go through. Jerry Chen still having a very good run through the hairpin. That is the 339 of McCoffin behind. And that was Schultz, who is still trying to find a pit stall. This is... Oh. For Schultz,
oh, this is painful to watch.
Thankfully, Schultz, again, not one of our drivers that are in a big championship battle. Still in a battle of his own, though, as he's P11 in the Div 3 standings coming into today, and was looking to find something, as he was only 2.1 points off of Mike Bell in 10th place. So he was looking to find a little bit of a run up in class to do what he can. Mr. Reese said, GG, pit stop not working. Stacy said, if you don't go through both cones, you won't get fuel, and they got to do a whole nother lap if they miss the marks.
Oh, man, that is absolutely painful. Looking at this gap, though, it's come down by nearly half already. And now Jerry Chen's down to about 11 seconds already. Amazing. And we're going to see a replay of what is this, the pass Jerry Chen was able to make around the car up the inside. Whoa, this is not Jerry Chen. Excuse me. This is the 151 and the 62. And that's Wood going off into the woods. And oh, my
Oliver
goodness,
Newman.
that is an excursion. Definitely is contact going through the right hand kink, before the debraking zone. And Bassick being the one who goes up in that 151 rum car. Neil Wood, in that 151 car. Unfortunate for Neil Wood. I was keeping an eye on him for this entire race as well. Gap slinking back and forth. This is my boy Jerry Chen, 10 seconds away nearly from the leader of Angelitas. And he's gaining a little bit of time and momentum on this outlap for Angelitas, and hopefully so continuing that. The Flying Kiwi racing car is absolutely flying right now, to say the least.
I would
seconds.
I would like to point out that if Jerry Chen beats George Angelitas, he wins by 4 points. If it comes out the other way around, it's a 5-point swing. So it is literally going to be who finishes P1, who finishes P2 here for these two. Or you never know, Jason Whited could finish P1, and then it's all about who finishes P2, who finishes P3. Needless to say, these two know the battle they're in. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, it went to Jerry Chen in the moderns. George Angelitas would love to have it in the historics, and whoever wins this one, they're going to tell you the battle that they've had year over year over year. They can't stay away from each other for more than the off season, if even that. These two find each other in every series here at CMS and every championship they run, and they end up fighting each other tooth and nail time and time and time and time and time again, and it's always an absolute banger and mash showdown.
Jerry Chen now 14 seconds away from the leader. Let's see what the time is going to be when he crosses the line. I'm interested to see the last lap around. Angelitas obviously running his outlap, 6 minutes, 8 seconds, 4:51 for Jerry Chen. That was a quite rapid outlap for Angelitas, and I wonder what kind of damage he may have done to those tires. Pushing so hard, he may be facing a little bit of graining. Like you said earlier in the broadcast, these historic tires, more like street tires than anything else that Pirelli or Goodyear are putting out these days. And so hopefully not facing too much scrubbing, but I imagine pushing as hard as he is right now, trying to maintain this lead over Jerry Chen. And this is going to be the gap and the race that I want to follow the most of so far. But here's Ross Smith in that 00 for his 100th race, getting chased down by the number 89 behind. And who is that in the number 89? I'll keep an eye on that. That'll be Magnus Dahlgren. Absolutely true. And they're having a nice battle on track. And this is for 5th and 4th in the championship right now. Smith leading in the 00 in 4th position. They're about 8.9 seconds away from the car in front. And the 00s maintaining their consistency right now.
And Ross Smith, a very consistent fast driver, time and time again through this season. We'll see how things end up for him here. At the final round, he's going to be looking for a podium in class if he can find it, but he's got quite a bit of time he needs to make up for that. 11 seconds to be exact.
11 seconds to make up is a long way to go. Around a 5-minute lap, pretty much, that the drivers are facing. And consistency being the key. I wonder when we'll see the next round of pit stops come out. Do you have any predictions for the end of this race so far?
I don't have predictions at all because I can't tell you how this is going to go. We've had a DQ of Alexander Schultz is out of this race. Disqualified, will be P31 in this race of our 31 cars. And what caused that?
Backing up through the pits.
Trying to find that pit box. Couldn't find it. I have a feeling that that's an issue with missing a cone there at the pit entry, as was so lovely pointed out between Stacy and Mr. Reese. Unfortunate to see, but that is the nature of racing. Philippe Ducardi, our next DNF, and well, that's a guardrail. And that's a wall. Oh,
and
goodness
that
me.
Is ascend, almost goes over the wall. Unbelievable. Hopefully he wasn't holding on to the controls of that vehicle when he went up that hill, because man, that is a risk breaker of an accident forever.
That was absolutely wild. I haven't seen a DNF like that in a while. I'm curious see if we can find out what Philippe Ducardi had happened there, because that was weird to see. Ross Smith has decided to just kind of lay on the throttle in this Shelby Daytona for Rookie Monsters and open up a gap to Magnus Dahlgren. Magnus Dahlgren sliding in the background. It looks like Magnus Dahlgren caught it, but doggone, the track is slippery. Still, even with running 60 minutes, an hour of racing around this track, nothing has dried up. There's been no sort of drying. There's been no sort of chilling out, calming down, nothing. And Jerry Chin's still closing the gap to George Angelides in the Div 3 AMs.
Well, I think things are finally chilling down, that's for sure. And that's the track temperature chilling down. I think the drivers are facing these colder conditions as the time ticks away, becoming the afternoon or the evening here in Paris. And the cold temperature is really affecting the drivers. And here's a replay of what we saw earlier.
I think this is what opened up the gap for Ross Smith against Magnus Dahlgren. And, well, who is that getting their wiggle on in the middle? That's number 87 as they go through. That's Dan Herlock right there actually getting his wiggle on going through. And, yeah, there went all the momentum as he had to very carefully lift to avoid that Div 1-2 as they went along, because that would have been a very, very scary time. So Ross Smith was able to go through, but now it's closing yet again. So not a lot going on there in that regard. Again, the slinky, the accordion, the rope, whatever you want to call it, the back and forth battle that continues for everything. Nicholas Kirsten has just ran away with this race, though. 50 seconds, 5-0, ladies and gentlemen, 5-0, 50 seconds up on Wouter de Bruin. And I will tell you right now that if you're Nicholas Kirsten, considering he started out with a DQ at round 1 in Daytona, and then has 4 wins to his name through this season, with 4 additional podiums. I mean, if you're Nicholas Kirsten, and this is how you round out the season with your 5th win of the season and a championship, it's going to feel pretty doggone good.
Absolutely, especially with a dominant victory like this. 50 seconds of a gap is nothing to shake a stick at, for certain. Commanding lead, pulling out the last lap out of nowhere, being a 439.3 over his competitors who are doing 441s, 440, 441, 450 for Tammy, and Sellers doing a 443 as well. So the lap times definitely going Kristen's way, and just being Mr. Consistent out there, and fastest lap going his way also with a 435.4, and that's on race trim, by the way. This isn't qualifying. This is absolutely a race trim that he's got set up. He's already taken 1 pit stop to his name so far, and just driving this one forward over Bruigen and Smith, Dahlgren, Tammy, and Sellers. Angelides, Chen, Whited in the Div 3 AMs. Div 1, Div 2, that'll be McCoffin, Herlock, Busnick. And then Div 1, Div 2 AM, Locke, Gray, and then Ducardi DNFing out of that championship.
It's amazing to see just how these battles are shaping and going through. Checking back in with Tony McCoffin here, 4.7 seconds the gap to Herlock. That gap continuing to ebb and flow. As you mentioned, De Bruin 60 seconds back from Kirsten. There is just absolutely nothing that he can do in that regard unless Nicholas Kirsten has some sort of a moment somewhere. Michael Locke here in the Div 1-2 AM, 17 seconds up on Adam Gray. But again, as we mentioned, Adam Gray's main competition in class, Eric Monet, was gone. So that is not what you want to see at all. Just giving you a preview of things to come near the end of the race there as we continue along here. Michael Locke sitting in first. Adam Gray, again, in second. Just has to cruise along. He's under no pressure at all as Ducardi, Monet, and Scotts are DNF from this race. Nicholas Kirsten, again, still in the lead, 45 seconds. It seems like when they get near that hairpin, it gets very, very interesting here. And Nicholas Kirsten so far ahead, he's lapped Michael Locke.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable pace. What's happened here? We see Bruin just parked off on the side of the road with a wheel off, excuse me, and that might be a warp to the garage and a DNF for them. It is a DNF for them. That number 19 no longer in this championship, tumbling down the orders, will fall behind the rest of the Div 3 cars. Unfortunate incident for them. Hopefully we'll get a replay of what happened there. Ross Smith in the 00 leading by quite some time right now.
We're going to get a replay here now. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. This is painful. I always say that... I always say I'm very thankful these are virtual cars and not real cars. And you have reminded me today that... yeah, direct drive wheels exist, Sagar. So, yeah, I hope he's okay, which is not something I'm used to really saying about virtual cars, but my goodness gracious, what a hit.
That was an absolutely enormous hit. The wheel came flying off instantaneously. You saw it in the air in that slow-mo, just hanging out there for at least getting 10 seconds of airtime. Enough airtime to be able to be served wine on that flight, unfortunately. And that car getting thrown into the wall. That'll be a sure DNF. Now on board with the vehicle to see what happened. And just going over the crest, loses out the traction from underneath him and clatters that wall, just unsuspecting victim. And yeah, that wheel hopefully not connected to him at the wrist, because man, I hope he's okay, like you said earlier. And this is unusual for us to say as virtual sim race commentators, but with these new direct drive wheels, with these powerful machines and rigs that people are driving, we're even commentating on a series that does full motion rigs. So hopefully those drivers, when they have incidents like that, aren't getting yeeted from the seats that they're bolted down to.
Yeah, and again, it sounds crazy, but that is something that happens. We wouldn't be talking about it if it's not something we know from experience can happen as we watch drivers go through. This is Dan Herlock on your screen now, second place in Div 1-2, continuing along, nice and comfortable and consistent through, and that is exactly what you need. 5 seconds away from a coffin. We jump back up front because Smith and Dahlgren have just decided to throw the fishing line at each other, reel each other back in. They're going to be battling out for position here as they go. They're battling for P2 overall as they go, sliding both cars all the way around. Really no advantage or disadvantage one way or the other because both of them don't have traction. So it kind of doesn't matter in that regard what happens. They're just, I mean, holding on to the car. They're trying to battle, but they've got to hold on. And again, to finish first you have to finish. And to a degree, though, they're going to throw that out the window at some point.
And I think now's the time where they've thrown it out the window and they're battling on track because they know that they've only got one more pit stop left that they have to serve. Both of the drivers drifting it through the bend here, and it looks like the 00 got the worst of it going off track. And can Dahlgren use this momentum to catch back up? It looks like he had a sympathy slide of his own, unable to catch back up, but the gap sure has closed down from that 5 seconds that he lost due to the momentum of the Sellers vehicle in front. The 100 getting a little squirrely there on throttle coming out of that bend. And now the number 89 of Dahlgren in the Ferrari 250 GTO is able to catch back up, caught in that slipstream, and will get sucked back in, coming in the back straight and headed towards the deep banking zone. Now no car separating the two of them. Now it's all momentum based and driven who will carry themselves better. It looks like Dahlgren had a little bit of a slip up coming in through the banking zone, loses out a handful of time. That might be a 5-second gap at this point in time. Keeping an eye on this battle is sure going to be exciting. Coming over the crest now, getting a little airborne for the Dahlgren car. The number 89 doing well to maintain its traction and coming down the front straight. It's nose to tail, and it looks like the 00 has just maintained its consistency and speed, just leading over the 89, getting a little squirrely again. And man, oh man, this is an exciting battle to stay on with. amazing battling for all the drivers, but this one for certain is keeping us entertained through the 30-minute mark. And man, we've only got 30 minutes left. Whoa, that's a big send for the number 89 coming over the crest, and another big send as he collects the barriers. No, for the number 89, Dahlgren going into the barriers, unable to keep the car collected as he got unsettled going over the crest right before the bend. Oh no, talk about getting the commentator's curse. We have just handed it to him.
On a silver platter. Man, whew. Go back and get a replay here. I mean, goodness gracious me, look at this. All the way. I mean, there's drifting, and then there's just absolutely sending it. Look at that. The car basically at a 60-degree angle, and then cuts it back around through, and then just understeers it out. Just no understeer at all. And also peep the JPB logo there on the side. That's a nice little touch on that number 89. However, the touch into the hay bales there, not tires, hay bales, is not good, and that's going to put some damage on the aero. That's going to make things not feel very great for his car. He is losing pace pretty considerably there. You can see the right front. Good crinkles in that car there, and he's losing pace there to Ross Smith as we go, trying to hold on to it, trying to keep it saved here. Another replay coming up at the moment, and this is the onboard. Look at the wheel deflection. Turning it through, cutting it, and then brings it right, and then all the way left, but it's just not hooking up.
I feel like had he kept his foot in it for that second part and just trusted the drift, he might have been able to maintain the corner. But trying to drift one of these GTOs around not one corner, but two corners back to back is obviously a challenge. And in these rainy conditions, anything has become possible. Chen now 16 seconds back from the leader of Angelides. The time is just slipping away from him right now. Angelides last lap around was a 47.2, 47.7 for Chen. They're lapping at around the same pace, but the gap has just been so consistent and just growing lap after lap from Angelides to Chen. Unfortunately, Whited 29 seconds off the leader right now, and a big yeet for Chen, and the Flying Kiwi getting some air right there. And this is where we saw the incident just a moment ago, and Chen was able to get it right this time around to 66. Keep on going. That's for certain. And hopefully just praying for something to happen to the leader, or praying for some time to come his way. We've got to remember too, lap traffic giveth, lap traffic will take it away. And unfortunately, we saw that earlier with the 00 and the number 89. And we'll hopefully see some more lap traffic action come out soon. Here's Mika Locke in the Alfa Romeo TZ, and he's trying to get it all right, holding on to first place in the Div 1, Div 2 AM leaders by at least 20 seconds, and we're going to have to do some more work for Gray to catch back up to this pack right now. And we've got another car out in front, but that's going to be lap traffic if I'm not mistaken.
Believe it might be here as we go. Michael Locke coming around, set his fastest lap of the race last lap, so the track, I feel like it is drying out, but again, it's hard to tell because of the spray and because of the sliding and everything through. Tony McCoffin, we check in with him, 15-second lead on Ilko Busink, and tail whipping left, right, center all the way around. Nicholas Kirsten, fastest lap was a 4:35.4. His last lap, 4:39.8. And of course, I'm looking all the way up at the Div 3 overall leader, but hey, you got to consider that is some significant time delta difference. When we go through and around. Tony McCoffin here very comfortably running this car, this Porsche 904 GTS for Joy Motorsports around, and is looking like he's having a great time there up in the lead where he's been for quite a while. Pretty considerable time as it stands as he runs through. He's very much helping his team secure this driver's championship, or this constructor's championship in this Div 1-2, because as it stands, they are set to win that constructor's championship if he finishes up in the lead and things finish how they stand. And that is a big moment there for him if they can secure it by just a little bit.
Locke and Gray, both of them into the pits already to finish out this race, hopefully making it to the end. Locke has already rolled out. Gray is still in the pit lane right now, it looks like, and on their way out right now. Nicholas Christian in first place, and this is the absolute leader of the race, dominating by Kirsten by 57 seconds. Unbelievable. We were talking about a 50-second gap earlier on in the race, and it is just absolutely grown to a enormous level, almost 1 minute ahead of Smith in that 00 car. Dahlgren in P2. We saw how much time can be gained and lost by one single incident. We're going to catch a replay right now of missing his braking point and just going straight to number 37, getting it all wrong. And thank goodness there was not a wall there, but a ton of runoff able to secure that position still, just going a little bit deep and wide, cooking it if I've ever seen it. And here's Kirsten and the Scuderia BWAT team, the Ferrari 250 GTO 115, doing a great job, I must say. And now the gap is that 1 minute mark. What do you have to say about this, Brad?
Ridiculous is what I have to say about that. With 25 minutes to go and the gap being 60 seconds, again, that's a fifth of a lap around this track, just over a fifth of a lap. I'm not doing the exact math. I'm saying 5 minute laps and you're a minute ahead. I understand they're less than 5 minutes. Everybody in YouTube chat, if you want to do the math and post the correct percentage. And whoa, the wiggle still coming through, even for our leader, even with such a pace advantage of several seconds. I mean, Magnus Dahlgren is our next Ferrari 250, and he's running 4:45s, and last lap was a 4:39 for Nicholas Kirsten. So clearly practicing this track, putting in the time, knows the track, knows the car, and is just putting a bow on what's been a very, very strong season, with the exception of the first few rounds. Putting a bow on it here and looking to get that finish there in Div 3, looking to get that championship win, looking to do everything possible and everything right. And as it stands, doing so. Yellow flag getting thrown briefly in Sector 2. Again, drivers going off left, right, and center here as they try to just hold on to this car coming through the hook. And I hear a big groan from our producer Paul Glover in the background. I have a feeling that whatever just happened was ugly. Let's get a replay of it though, and somebody else can tell me how ugly it was. This is the number 93. This is Bradley Sellers. That's a slide, and that is a hedge that acts like a full-blown wall and just stops him in his tracks.
As the world's strongest hedge, if I've ever seen one. If the trees are impenetrable, that hedge is the exact opposite. Just put a stop to Sellers' car there. And that number 93, 155 seconds off the pace of the leader. And this is just not working out well for him right now. He's had a few incidences early on in the race and now trying to get it collected. Sellers and the number 93, but Kirsten just doing a phenomenal job, I must say. I am speechless right now. Is that a 75-second gap? How did he gain 15, 16, 17 seconds now over the car behind over one lap? It's absolutely amazing. Oh, look at the time. The last lap around, 4:37 for Kirsten, and Smith with a 41. So the time may be lying to us just a little bit, but the time gained right now is about 4 seconds per lap.
It's getting a bit ridiculous. It's impressive, but it's getting a bit ridiculous here. Again, another driver just like George Angelides that I think forgot to turn on weather for this race, but is still having a good time nonetheless as we go through. We check back in with second place in Div 1-2 of Elko Busink, who is 11 seconds off of Tony McCofferman and is continuing through. Jerry Chen still has 12 seconds that he needs to make up on George Angelides and not doing any sort of... It's down to 10 seconds. It's up to 12. I think depending on where they're at on the track, that gap is ebb and flowing differently through. So we're back to 62 seconds between Kirsten and Smith. So I think just depending on where they're at on the track, there is a little bit of a difference there. Scar Pope has been into the pits from 5th place in Div 1-2. So we are starting to see the next cycle of Div 1-2 pit stops. I'd say we're probably not too far off from our final set of Div 3 pit stops here soon. We'll see what happens because 22 minutes to go. I mean, this race has flown.
Yeah, this race has just gone by in a blink of an eye. There's been so much action left, right, and center for us to keep track of. The replays have been phenomenal entertainment to see where the drivers have been able to make their unforced errors or their big accidents that have taken place. We've seen cars flying through the air. We've seen skateboards turn upside down. We've seen cars do big backflips and kickflips and all sorts of hectic maneuvers for us, and tires falling off left, right, and center, getting left in the middle of the track for other drivers to collect. The action has been entertaining so far. With 21 and a half minutes left to go, the last of the pit stop cycle will be taking place. Sellers now into the pits as well, and he is going to be stationary for quite some time to repair that damage if he is got some damage from that accident, from that grueling hedge that he had made it, well, let's just say delicate love to.
Yeah, he had a time with it. That's for sure. Painful hit there. Again, another driver that I hope the direct drive wheel was turned down or that it didn't, yank the wheel out of his hand. So we go through. George Angelides continuing through. Sellers is there in sixth place, 28 seconds in the box, 38-second pit lane time, and is back out and about and running, continuing to make things go through and just trying to find whatever time he possibly can here to close things up. We're just watching at this point, holding on, trying to see how this race will end. This is the point where drivers are going to start pushing. This is the point where if you're a driver, you kind of just pull the, you pull the parachute cord. There's a good way to phrase that. You pull the parachute cord and you just give it nothing but gas, leave it all on the track. Especially if you're in one of these very tight championship battles, you're really going to give it nothing but gas and try to get things going because you have to. You have to get things through. And now that pit stop cycles are in, this is going to be possibly one of the last opportunities you really get to gain on someone or lose on someone. And you just have to make it count now. 19 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in this 1964 Virtual World Sports Car Championship historic season here in Champions in Motorsports as we go around and around and around. We continue through, and when you do the math, 19 minutes, it's 4 laps.
Wow, when you put it like that, there is Sellers off in front of Angelides, and he had just served his pit stop, missed his braking point into the shell hay bales, it looks like, but he's back on track driving forward this time around. And here's Angelides' onboard in the bottom right hand corner of your screen as he's getting a little squirrely, pressing that throttle pedal down, getting a little bit of oversteer and facing a little bit of understeer on the entrance of these corners. A bit interesting to see that. It's fun to have a car that's understeering and oversteering all at the same time as you try to drive this one forward and claim your championship. That'll be George Angelides claiming his and drinking the champagne if things finish off where they stand right now. And talking about the direct drive wheels that you mentioned earlier, we got to mention the other end of the spectrum. The drivers that have got a G920 or something clamped to their desk. Have you ever had your wheelbase fall off of your desk because you've had an accident that happened so hard and all of a sudden you're just holding the entire thing and your wheelbase is spinning and collecting all of your power cords? Because I sure have. And it's never a good incident to be a part of. And it is something that you never want to happen. And hopefully the drivers on that other end of the spectrum that aren't driving with a 920 rig, with their rigs bolted down to something, are basically holding on to something fierce and clamp their wheels down very hard as Angelides is just commanding this race right now. Taking a look at the last lap times around. Whoa, holy Toledo. Jerry Chen is pulling out 2 seconds a lap on Angelides. We're seeing some personal best pop out right now. Talk about pulling the ripcord. 46.4 being the best lap out of Angelides right now. Last lap around. 44.4 for Jerry Chen, best lap time for him as well, pulling the ripcord and just sending it as much as possible. We've gone 18 laps into this race for all of the leaders so far, and we've got 4 more laps left to go basically, so we'll see them conclude around the 22 lap mark and that'll be depending on where the leader crosses the line and if we'll get that extra bonus lap or not. This will be very interesting getting down to the wire, and if the drivers can maintain their consistency. I'm going to talk about it all race long as Angelides just sends it into the kink here. Just absolute faith in the vehicle that he's driving, this Ferrari 250 GTO, and he's just got this thing mesmerized and it's just mesmerizing how he can drive this thing forward and just trust his vehicle so much, because I sure couldn't drive this 1960s car with that much faith and consistency. Like you talked about earlier, the number of laps they must have done in practice must have been phenomenal. And I wonder if they were able to practice during the rainy conditions to make sure that they were prepared for this. And there's another big send for that number 27, getting it right though, as he gets through that hairpin bend, just doing mesmerizing things for the number 27. And we're going to get a quick replay here in a moment to catch some more action. This is going to be Mr. Herlock in the number 87 with a big old drifto, pulling off his Ken block and collecting that hay bale, that hedge that is stronger than Hercules himself. The 87 finds himself making that sweet love to that barrier and that wall there, and that 87 trying to find the right way around the circuit and not doing it right this time around.
Yeah, for Dan Herlock, that was painful, but ouch. That's all I got. That hedge has a personal vendetta against cars at this point. As we go through 15 and a half minutes left to go in this race, and George Angelides, Jerry Chen just swapping personal best back and forth as they go. And it is just a case of who wants it more. For Jerry Chen, this is the championship decider. You've got to dump it all out of the car at this point. You can't leave anything behind. It's beat George Angelides or it's lose the championship. Second place is not good enough. 10 seconds the gap between them as they go. Again, that is going to ebb and flow back and forth as the laps continue. It is McCoffin and Busink also battling through. 8 seconds there, separating through. 4:56 was the last lap for Tony McCoffin, and Busink had a 4:51 the last lap. So clearly something went wrong for McCoffin as he went through his lap. Mind that hedge on the right-hand side, George. Mind that hedge. Jason Whited in the pits in Div 3 AM, Div 3 AMs, and Div 3 Pros, all starting to do the process of the final pit stops here. Nicholas Kirsten into the pits for the final time in that 250 GTO Ferrari. Gap, 72 seconds. And
that last lap round was going to be a 38 for Kirsten, and Smith doing 48, 10 seconds faster than the guy in P2. Unbelievable pace out of Kirsten right now, just driving out of his skin. And here's Busnek chasing down. Who is that in P1? This will be McCoffin in the lead. 9 seconds to drift right now in that 339 in the Div 1-2 category. And just, again, the amount of faith that these guys have in their vehicles beneath them. No traction control, no ABS, none of that fancy stuff. They're all driving on feel and mechanical grip alone. Setups have got to be dialed in for the wet conditions to be able to drive at this level, and not only at this level, but at this consistency as well. You're going to be facing corners that you've never faced before because you've never had to be offline in the dry conditions like that. In these wet conditions, you're often not facing the same corner in the exact same way, lap after lap. So making up the time every corner, just like that, getting a little squirrely coming over the first crest and through the second crest again, getting squirrely and into the air. Number 47, driving like he stole it.
I mean, he basically is trying to steal it at this point as he goes through. Busink is trying to steal the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship for his team, and as it stands, he is doing a dang good job as he runs along. It's crazy to watch how that goes through and how it runs here. Tony McCoffin still up in the lead as it stands, as I have it calculated. As I have it calculated here, Joy Motorsports will beat Mike Bell Motorsports and Fatigo Monsters for the Div 1-2 championship if they finish how they stand now. It is doggone close, and Bradley Sellers up ahead there having a moment, not able to keep that car underneath. I mean, what is happening? The car is crab steering like a front loader in Farm Sim. That is, I mean, something else to see that car that sideways down a straightaway. He has done something to that car as we go through.
I believe he collected another barrier as he was trying to get out of the way of some of the other drivers. And now Tony McCoffin has some clean air out in front of him. Nope, not clear air anymore as that car came across through the trees and out of the forest he goes. The 339 finds the gap to be able to go through on that car that was just sitting there. Is that Whited now?
That is Jason Whited. And here's the thing, though. Jason Whited is a Div 3 and has a lot more power. So even though McCoffin got past him there, Jason Whited has the power to just send it right by him.
Wow, and that crab walking car of Sellers still in the background, looking like one of those new Hummers just going off sideways right now. Trying to keep it on the circuit, but hopefully goes into the pit lane sooner rather than later to repair whatever is going on with that vehicle. The number 34 of Whited now in front of the 339 again of Tony McCoffin. And we talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. Lap traffic given, lap traffic taken away. And that 39 is being a brick wall as we look at a quick replay of what happened to Sellers' vehicle, I think. No, this is going to be Whited in front, and he's drifting his way through and off into the forest, avoiding the colossal hedges and making his way through the forest and on his way to another big drift. And this is how he made his way in front of that 339 vehicle of McCoffin.
Big old drift through there, just exercising the rallycross side of these cars, just running a little bit of off-road time, being nice and comfortable and smooth through, still battling it out with Tony McCoffin here as we go. Jerry Chen now in the pits there from second place in the Div 3 AMs. The final pit stop through. George Angelides still needs to pit in the Div 3 AMs. So we'll see how that gap goes. 19 seconds in the pits for 19 seconds in the box for Jerry Chen, 26 seconds in the pits itself here. Tony McCoffin still battling with Jason Whited. Jason Whited 110 seconds back from Angelides, and that car is just not handling well for Jason. Jason just struggling to make it through corners.
You know what's interesting? Like you said earlier about the power that Whited has, he's still backing up that 339 over and over and over again. The gap between Busnick has come down to just under 6 seconds, 5.4 right now. I'm sure if we could see it, we'll see this battle just right in front of Busnick, and he's watching this go down and saying, yes, 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 give me that time back, please, because it was 9 seconds at the beginning of the last lap, and now it's tumbling down, and I don't think any cars are going to do McCoffin any favors by getting out of his way. They're going to just plant themselves right where they are and drive forward. Whited now 106 seconds off of the lead of Angelides, the leader, not into the pits just yet, not doing his splash and dash, but Chen has 40 seconds off the pace right now, trying to perform another undercut. And if you can pull off that 6 second gap that we saw earlier, we're in for a battle towards the end of this race.
That we are. That was our race leader through the hook there, through the banking of Nicholas Kirsten, that has now lapped this battle, and that just shows the domination that Nicholas has had this entire race, the domination he's shown time and time again through the season. After the first few rounds, the rocky start to the season, he brought it through. 8 minutes and 45 seconds separate him from a VWSC historic championship in this 1964 series. Tony McCoffin looking for a win here in Div 1-2. 6 seconds the lead on Busink and looking to find that win through. Busink again looking for the championship here on Dan Herlock as it stands in Div 1-2 and doing very well to find that as well. And Div 1-2 AMs, again, Adam Gray just has to finish. He's 41 seconds off of Michael Locke, but he just needs to finish. And it's a maiden championship for him here in VWSC in CMS Racing. And it is George Angelides, Jerry Chen. 50 seconds the gap here. Angelides still needs to pit, I believe, in Div 3 AM. I don't think he'll make it to the end, but he's gonna try, I'm sure, because George Angelides tends to be a fuel whisperer here. 7 minutes, 53 seconds, basically a lap and a half to go here as they run through. We'll see how things fly, when white flags start being waved, and how many laps are left as we, again, this is about a 5-minute lap that we're looking at for these drivers. We're just under 5 minutes. 4 minutes 44 is the fastest lap I see last time through. So everyone's still going through. 7 minutes 28 seconds left to go now as they stand here, and McCoffin just trying to cruise his way through. All the championships to be decided. All of the hard racing, all of the battles through this entire 2024 season in these 1964 cars will be decided in just over 7 minutes time, and we will be able to give official final, well, I'm not going to say final, but we'll be able to give the unofficial calculations and tallies of everything as it stands, of how we expect results to be. I don't believe there will be a single championship that will be too close to call. It looks like everything has set right for some drivers, has set wrong for others, and has spelt disaster for a few. We continue on here through this race today, and Nicholas Kirsten hasn't set a foot wrong. 61 seconds the gap, has lapped considerably through this field, and is just continuing to just run this Ferrari 250 through, and just, I mean, wow. All you can say is wow.
Yeah, really great pace. Already taking a second pit stop, 1 minute ahead of anybody else, and that'll be Tammy. And Tammy hasn't even taken a pit stop yet, so Smith will really inherit P2. Dahlgren, Sovic, and Sellers right now. We'll have to find out where Tammy ends up falling after their pit stop cycle. And again, we have to watch out for this remaining pit stop cycle because we've got 5 minutes left. And if Angelitas really is the tire whisperer and the fuel whisperer that they are, they might be able to hold on to this 50-second gap. But as you said earlier, Chen was stopped for around, the transient time was around 32 seconds plus a 22-second stop. That 50-second gap is looking awfully tasty at this point in time, don't you think?
It really is. It's looking very, very tasty here. That battle's going to go to the wire, I feel, just depending on what happens with those two. It's close. It's close is all we have. Mike Bell has fixed his crabbing car, so no more crab dancing there for Mike Bell as he has figured it out through 5 minutes, 15 seconds left on the clock here. Nicholas Kirsten coming around, and this should, question mark, be final lap coming through. As we go through, Mike Bell had a 6.5 minute lap on the last lap with that car, trying to run at about a 20-degree angle. It looked like a truck that I picked up out of a junkyard and took around. And Nicholas Kirsten here, Sauter should get the white flag this time by, I believe.
You think so? It might be this white flag session because, yes, he won't be able to get to the line before the lap timing ends unless he pulls out another stonker of a lap into the 35s. It'll be awfully close, though, but white flag should be waving. 115 commanding his lead. Busnick, getting close to McCoffin. The gap was 6 seconds just 2 laps ago. Now it's down to 4 seconds, 3.5 at a glimmer there. But Busnick has got to put the pedal to the metal to catch up to McCoffin. And he is just driving that 339 away. And here we are looking at McCoffin, Joy Motorsports Porsche 904, one of the cars that I wanted to keep an eye on. And here is Busing in the Joy Motorsports 904 GTS. And they are battling it out on track all over the place. And Angelitas still not taking a pit stop yet, must be considering that he's making it to the end on just one pit stop alone.
So that'll be George Angelitas, Timon Suvic, and JT Tammy that will say one pit stop was enough for this race and that they calculated things out in a way to make one pit stop work where everyone else has done at least 2. We started out with 31 cars, and we currently sit with 22 cars. Our last place car in the field being Becky Ely, 2 laps down, but still keeping that Lotus 23B on track in Div 1-2, finding the run, keeping the time moving, and trying to do anything possible to claw that championship back for Futiga Motorsports as they run around. Busink drifting the car a little bit there, 3.6 seconds the gap to McCoffin. This is going to be a very close one. 3 seconds the gap, opening up to 3.5. It's going to ebb, it's going to flow, but we're now to 3 seconds, and that helps nothing.
Oh, man, and now he's pushing so hard that he is losing time, clattering with the hay bales as Busink in the Joy Motorsports Porsche 904, trying to do his best to maintain that consistency and pace to catch up to McCoffin, but can't do it by collecting barriers. Nicholas Kirsten chasing down nobody right now, as he is in the lead of this race, commanding by at least a minute right now, 56.5 seconds. That is amazing pace and consistency. He'll be happy with the way that things ended for him in this championship series. I can only imagine so. And he'll get a nice big drink of champagne at the end of this one, and taking big gulps out of a big gold cup as well. And in the background, we're watching the other battle take place. I believe that would be Busink and McCoffin.
Yeah, that battle's not over until the checkered flag flies, which should be at the end of this lap. This will be where it all goes through, and desperation starting to sink in, the urge to get that position sinking in. You know that you're that close, but you're that far away. For Scar Pope and Oliver Day here, this is going to be a very close battle for them for P3, the podium position here in Div 1-2. They're going to be battling very, very close. For Herlock, it means a great deal. For Pope, it's all about the pride here. Herlock, of course, trying to still battle it out for championships and still trying to do something by the numbers. Busink has it. But of course, for Herlock, there's still the team championship to look at there for Mike Bell Motorsports, is they want more than just a driver's championship. They want team championships. They want to keep things moving there in Mike Bell Motorsports here in the historic series. We'll see how that shapes up. We have yellows going through. Timon Subic has now dropped behind Bradley Sellers in 5th place there. We continue along. The timer is ticking down, and well, it is all she wrote here today. We're waiting on Kirsten to cross the line. He's about 3/4 of the way through the lap. He's on the return of the run, and George Angelides has been disqualified.
No way! No way! George Angelides has to warp to the pits. What has happened to Angelides? He comes into the pits. Did he miss his mark? Did he not go through the cones? And he's backing up through the pit lane. We saw this before. We saw it happen again just now. He missed the cones. This is absolutely crazy. He runs over the marshal, and that's what disqualifies him from this race. And Jerry Chen will take home P1 over Whited right now. What an amazing finish to this race.
He tried to save it till the last moment for a pit stop as we have Sellers and Subic. This race has opened up as the timer goes through. Nicholas Kirsten coming across the line. He is gonna win VWSC, the final round here in Monolith. But oh my goodness, this race has come alive out of nowhere. Busink still 3 seconds off of McCoffin as they go through. Nicholas Kirsten has finished this race in 1st place in Div 3, and that believe is enough to secure him the championship. Indeed it does. But George Angelides, the heartbreak of a season summed up in one moment, came into this race in the lead in points. Dominant season back and forth with Jerry Chen.
Unbelievable. Back and forth. I can see it on the point standings. 1st place podiums for nothing but these two leaders of this championship in the Div 3 AMs, and all coming down to the final race. Unbelievable opportunities were created out of thin air.
JT Tammy P2, Ross Smith P3, Smith threw the car away. McCoffin and Busink are separated by 1/10 of a second right now. What in the world has happened in the world of Div 1-2? Where has this come from?
Lap traffic, give it. Lap traffic, take it away. McCoffin getting, oh no! Busink! No! Getting it all wrong on the entry, just pitching his car in nose to tail, and then spins the car right around. The number 47, unable to get the pedal to the metal at the right time, falls out now 7 seconds behind McCoffin, where he was just 1/10 behind just a moment ago. This has just lit up the finale of this championship standings, lit up the end of this race. We thought it was over. We thought it was said and done. The 47 giving us the last bit of entertainment.
That they are, Oliver Day did get past Scar Pope in for 4th place of Div 1-2. See if we can get a replay of that here momentarily. And this is going to be a replay of the 47. Just absolutely. Man, this race has just absolutely come alive here. Tony McCoffin will hold off boosting there. The gap, 8 seconds, 7 seconds actually, as they still continue around. Again, this is a long lap. It's a 5-minute lap. Still plenty of time for cars to go through. Tony McCoffin kicking the back end out a little bit. You see the spray, you see the wiggle, but Tony McCoffin just trying to hold this car on as much as possible. Kirsten Tammy Smith Dahlgren finishing 1, 2, 3, 4 in Div 3 overall. Bradley Sellers will bring home a 5th place. Timon Subic in 6th. Still waiting on some drivers to cross the line here to get final results going through.
Oh man, final flags are waving for the drivers as they finish up their final lap. Here's Bradley Sellers trying to get it to the end of this race, the number 93, and he is just trying to keep it on track at this point in time, getting it home to the finish line, getting chased down by, who is that? No pulling out of the way, excuse me, of the number 81. Did Sellers have a big incident that causes him? Oh, he's finished the race, excuse me.
This is Scar Pope Oliver Day overtake replay for how that happened. This is just drafting down the backstretch as they go through. See how that happens. They continue along, nice, hard, aggressive racing through, and there it is, the move to the inside for the left-hander, and is going to set that up and just has enough of a draft there to get that pass done, go through first on the brakes there, and you can see the Alpine on the brakes, but just not able to keep up. And actually slides a little wide.
Slides a little wide, touches a little grass, as the kids say, and I assume everybody's going to want to go outside and get some fresh air after this one. An amazing race, an amazing championship. Way to finish out the race, everybody. All 22 of the drivers that have made it to the end, 21 drivers, Becky Ellie being the 21st driver after having a nasty incident, was able to come back and finish just one lap down from the leaders. Amazing job to finish things out, but my bets were held on Jerry Chen to finish things out, and boy oh boy did he get things right, making that second pit stop that he needed to do over his opponent. Just amazing way to end the day, or amazing way to start the day, excuse me, and get on with the rest of it with more racing action.
I have even more heartbreak in Div 3 AM. We're going to start with Div 3 AM because this might be the heartbreak of the season here. Results as they stand: it is Jerry Chin, Jason Whited, Antonius Paparanopoulos, Peter Meyer, John Mayer, George Angelides, DQ'd. Now, for a second, hold this up, because here's what this means. Jerry Chin secures the Drivers' Championship by 14.2 points over George Angelides. Furthermore, the team championship with Jerry Chin winning and George DNFing swings to Flying Kiwi Racing by 3.5 points over Scuderia Cavalli. And that is with both George and Jerry purposely missing Bridgehampton last week because they wanted this to go to the wire. And it went to the wire. So Jerry Chin has now taken both the modern and historic championships over George Angelides this season. Let's go to Div 3 pros if they're ready here, Mr. Glover. Nicholas Kirsten in P1 wraps up a beautiful season. It started rocky, but he pulled out his 5th win of the year here, and Nicholas Kirsten has won the Drivers' Championship by 12.55 points. JT Tammy in 2nd place, Ross Smith in 3rd, Magnus Dahlgren in 4th place, 5th place Bradley Sellers, 6th place Timon Subic, 7th place Mike Bell, 8th place Vuda de Bruin, 9th place Alexander Scholes. That again secures Nicholas Kirsten the win in the driver standings. Let's go to Div 1-2 AM now, as this one, it is going to be Michael Locke, Adam Gray, Philippe Ducardi, Eric Monet, and Stacy Scotts. And with Adam Gray in 2nd, Eric Monet DNFing, it cemented by 21 points Adam Gray's championship. So Div 1-2 AM has been decided. Let's go to Div 1-2. because this one was the big one to figure out here. And we'll give it a second here. Tony McCoffin in first place. Aliko Busink in second place. Third place, Dan Herlock. Fourth place, Oliver Day. Fifth place, Scar Pope. Sixth place, Jill Zalond. Seventh place, Oliver Zuman Newman. From there, it's P8 of Neil Wood. It's P9 of Luca Tavanari. It's P10 of Becky Ely. And from there, we go to our DNFs from there. And it was Ben Borman. Now, Robert Strachan for Mike Bell Motorsports did not start this race. However, Busink by 9.5 points, 9.55 points, secures the Div 1-2 Drivers' Championship. But remember, the team championship was between 3 teams. Futigo Monsters came in with the lead. They have lost it, and in fact, they lost second place. They finish in third. Mike Bell Motorsports stays in second place. Enjoy Motorsports Porsche 904. Oliver Newman, Tony McCoffin, and Elko Busink take the win with 112 points, and they secure the team championship.
What an amazing finish for McCoffin and Busink there at the line as well, battling it out. Teammates, they've sure brought some joy to this championship and as well as the entertainment for the final lap. But it was a shame to see Busink not be able to catch up to McCoffin. To cross the line 1-2 would have been a sure joy for them. And I'm entertained by how much this championship has been shaken up. The Monsters coming in at P1, now falling back to P3, unfortunately, with the Ben Borman and Ely. Ely, excuse me. Thank you. The Ely DNFs basically, and coming in last place, unfortunately, unable to clinch as many points as possible.
I don't have words. That a season of ups, downs, all the way around came down to the wire, and oh my goodness gracious me, did it deliver. If you had asked me all the way back in January to predict this season, I could not have. Ross Smith, I need a drink and a shower. Drink water or Gatorade. Drink something to refresh yourself, and make sure you use some very, very strong body wash in that shower, because I bet you are sweaty after that race. You had a hard race there, Ross. Let's go ahead and go into our post-race rundown, and let's start with some interviews and get some things moving here. We got quite a few interviews to make our way through here through the day, and I am going to leave it up to our beautiful, beautiful producer in the background, one Mr. Paul Glover, to tell me who he would like to start with. Div 3 AM. Let's pull Div 3 AM in here, and Div 3 AM, of course, is going to be the championship and the race winner, Jerry Chin. Where's Jerry Chin when we need him? There's Jerry Chin when we need him. And Jerry Chin, join the party, buddy. Paul, does it let you move people? Because it doesn't let me. We're summoning the boss man, one Mr. Ross Smith. Ross Smith, if you are around, Ross Smith to the broadcaster's booth, please. Ross Smith to the broadcaster booth for technical assistance. Commentators need assistance in the broadcast booth. Commentators need assistance in the broadcast booth. With that being said, can I drag anyone? There we go. Okay, now it let me drag Jerry Chin. Jerry Chin, my friend. Hello.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Jerry.
Well, okay. So, Jerry, I want to start out with saying that my wonderful friend Sagar here, this was his first race in VWSC, his first race for commentating CMS Racing, and he had a bold prediction at the beginning, of course, saying that he was rooting for you over George. I'm not going to say that I was rooting for anyone over the other person, because I'm an unbiased commentator, and Georgie Angelides, of course, has a hand on the admin side. And Jerry, I respect you. However, I don't want George to find where I sleep. Jerry, when George Angelides DQ'd Did you realize what was happening in that moment?
I did not know what happened. I just saw him plummet down the timing chart on my little HUD, and all inside, all I was doing was screaming like a 5-year-old little girl.
Well, if it hasn't been officially said to from anyone to you, I do want to officially announce, Jerry Chen, you are the winner of the Div 3 AM VWSC Historic Championship in the drivers, and with your win, you and John Mayer have secured the Constructors Championship over Scuderia Cavalli by 3.5 points.
Woohoo! That is awesome. Yeah, it's been such a long fight all year long. John and I have been just fighting with George and Jason all year long. It's so much fun, and to have it come down to the last race on the last lap, that's amazing.
I have to ask you one other question, though. Why is it always you and George?
I don't know, but it just seems like I joined CMS like 4 years ago, I think, and right from the first race, me and George, we were doing like GTEs, and me and George were just nose to tail every race. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and it's been like that for 4 years. Doesn't matter what we're racing, we're just always fighting each other. So I know, I feel bad for George because I know he really wanted this one. He's been trying to get that drivers championship for a long time. So but I'm super happy for me and John. It's been so much fun this year with the 64s. At the beginning, it was, I think I penalized myself with turning all the graphics up because I could not see a single thing at the start. I was like, it was entirely white. I could not see anything, so I just lifted and I saw the Div 3s that didn't qualify past me, and then all I could see was the timing on my HUD because I literally couldn't see anything. I saw Gilles coming up behind me, and I was like, oh, I better speed up because I don't want to get passed by the Div 2s. And then so I just took it easy, and then the entire first stint, me and Jason were nose to tail. It was so much fun. It was probably the most fun I had this year in the 64s. We were just nose to tail every single corner. I could get a little bit better on brakes. He was a little better on acceleration, but we're just fighting every single corner, every lap. It was so much fun. So big thanks to Jason for that awesome clean race in there. But yeah, super excited for me and John to take the championship. So, and thank you guys for doing the broadcast. It's been really awesome watching the replays with you guys on.
Man, it's been awesome to watch this championship develop all the way since February. Jerry, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor is yours. Champion.
Well, as you guys for doing the broadcast, and then as always, our Ross and George for putting all this together and making all these awesome cars for us to race. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. And thank you, Jerry. We'll hopefully see you next season. Of course, stick around because at the end of the broadcast, we're going to reveal next year's cars. So stick around, check out the broadcast, hang out, and we'll catch up with you later, okay?
Thanks, guys.
And from there, let's go ahead and grab the Div 1-2 AMs as they stand. That is going to be Adam Gray. So let's find... Or no, sorry, I lied. That is not Adam Gray. Div 1-2 AMs was Michael Locke. Yeah, it was Mika Locke. Where is Mika Locke here? Let's grab Mika Locke. So, Michael Locke, or Mika Locke. Hello. Micah, there we go. How does it feel to win a race?
Tiring. Gripping the steering wheel tight. So tiring, but it was fun for sure.
It's been a long season. It's been a long run through, and you bring it in on the final race of the year. I gotta ask you though, as a Div 1-2, how scary are Div 3s, especially when it's pouring the rain in Paris?
It's very, very scary. Had a close call in the front straight. Div 3 hit another Div 1-2. So that could have taken me out early. But yeah, it's so strange because it's so much faster on the straights, and then you're like right up against them on some of the twisty stuff. So it's kind of a combo you don't really see anywhere else, really.
Absolutely. And reflect on your season as a whole for me. Of course, you did pull out P3 in the driver's standings here. Adam Gray and Eric Monet, first and second place in the driver's standings, but you were third in the driver's standings overall. Kind of, how was your season as a whole? And then, are we going to see you back in the historics next year? What are we looking at for next year?
Yeah, I mean, in the VWSC, I only was able to do a few races. Been more focused on the modern, so it was fun for the races that I did. Definitely a good time, and I was able to do some of the Tuesday ones as well. But yeah, I guess I haven't seen the new trail yet for the new historic, so I'll be interested to see, and I'll join if I can for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be rolling that out at the end of the broadcast, Micah. But anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just the Storm Gang team, CMS, you guys for broadcasting, and all the competitors as well. I mean, that first lap, I was surprised how good it went, to be honest. It was so scary, but everybody did pretty good for the most part. So just a fun overall race and season.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun, and stick around so that way we can show you what next year is going to hold in the calendar and the schedule, and then we'll catch up with you later, okay?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks. From there, let's go ahead and grab the Div 1-2 champion and pull him in here. One Mr. Adam Gray. Adam, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Mr. Champion?
I'm chuffed, very chuffed. I'm just glad I finished that race.
It seemed like a very challenging one, I'm not going to lie, but it seemed like you had good pace, like you were nice and comfortable, Adam. So when you were running through there, of course, you finished second in class today. Was it just what was your goal coming into the race?
To basically finish the race, because I knew it was going to be a wet one, and I personally found the track quite slippery. So it was literally just finish the race as high as possible and score those points and hopefully take the championship lead, win.
And Adam, of course, this is going to be your upteenth podium of the season. You've been on the podium dozens upon dozens of times throughout this season. Does it ever get old?
No, because each race is different, and it's being my first season in history as well. Each one was an achievement.
Awesome. And Adam, of course, clinching the championship here. Anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
I just want to say a massive thank you for George, Ross, John, Matt, Don, for the fantastic season we've had, and you guys for doing the live broadcast. It's been really good.
Awesome, and thank you. We'll catch up with you later. Stick around. Tune into the end of the broadcast to see next year's cars, and we'll catch you later, okay?
Yep, Roger. I already know what they are.
Don't tell anyone.
No, I'm not.
Give it about 20 minutes and then tell somebody.
Yeah, once they've seen the broadcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Cheers, thanks.
All right, and then from there, let's go ahead and grab our Div 1-2 Pro winner, which was Tony McCoffin. And Tony, hello. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Feeling good after that race.
It's been a challenging season for you. Looking through, highest finish was 4th. But rounding out the season on a win, how did Paris treat you, and how much practice did you have coming into Paris?
I mean, I didn't have that much practice with wet weather, but this is something I'm quite confident in. So I just came there. This is my home race, so I know the track quite well, and yeah, just managed to stay on track in those tricky conditions, not carrying any damage nor any cut-borne moments. So yeah, took it to the end, had a good enough pace to keep up the two guys behind that were very hungry for the win, being Dan Urlock and Ilko Busing. But yeah, felt great.
Things got really close between you and Busink at one point. near the end, were you worried that he was going to pass you at all?
I mean, we were on a team. We are driving together. We wanted to have that team championship as well. So don't think he would have been overly aggressive if he came by. But of course, he had much more pace than me. So if the race was a bit longer, I would have stand no chance against him.
Absolutely. And then Tony, kind of looking forward and looking ahead, of course, this year was a season of up and downs. Are you planning on coming back next year?
Yeah, probably. I'm looking forward to see what's up for next year. So yeah.
Awesome. And anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would give a big shout out to the Joy Motorsport team principal, Oliver Zoomin Newman, for no reason. Just like that.
Awesome. Awesome. And Tony, let's go ahead and if your team is available here, let's pull them in as well. Let's pull in Mr. Zoomin Newman.
Himself.
And then let's pull in Boosink here. Of course, I'm going to start with Boosink here because he clinched the championship by 9.5 points as Ross Smith is trying to be a little troll in the background here. But Elko, how does it feel to secure the championship in the final round of the season? You and Dan Herlock have went back and forth this entire season.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. It became a bit of a budge clencher at the end since I got the stop on all 20 at the beginning of the race. I was driving angry, which showed in the first lap, where I made a huge mistake. But yeah, to finally get it done, seeing the gap decrease the entire season, it's been amazing.
It's been amazing to watch all the way through. Elko, when you look at your season, it's been a very, very hard-driven season through and through. Getting second place at the end here, coming out on a high note. Your team, of course, securing the championship from third with the help of some strong results from your teammates. How does that feel for you as a driver to know that it all came together on the final round?
Yeah, it feels pretty good that because you work quite hard to make setups, to drive, to learn the tracks, because they're all new. The car is completely new to me. This is the first season I've driven any sort of classic car. Yeah, so it's been really awesome, and to win it at the end, at the last round as well, it's pretty special.
Yeah, I must say that to be able to do that performance on the very last race, just to say there we are as a team. It's great.
Oliver Zoomin Newman, last question is coming to you. How, for the team in general, how's it been all the way through? Because you all have had some pretty crazy races through as a team, and the historics, of course, are very challenging. But for you, how does it feel to know the team came together and got things through? And what are we thinking for next year? Are we sticking together as a team?
For me, I would personally say that Tony and Nilko have done all of the heavy lifting. I have been the success ballast. I have been only picking up the participation points, but Tony and Nilko have done all of the setup work, and they've worked really well at getting all this done. I've just been turning up and driving when I can. If the guys want to carry on driving for Joy, I am more than happy. The historic cars were fantastic. They're completely different to most things that I've ever driven. And I remember at the first round at Daytona, with the difference in the pit lane speed, I got it very wrong going into the pit lane on my first stop, and went into my pit box backwards. But I think I'm looking forward to the next season. What cars are going to be in it, I don't know, but see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you, we all know here in the booth, so we'll keep the secret. We'll show it at the end of the broadcast, and then we'll talk about it. So it's going to be fun. But Boosink, you're the champion. Do you want to shout out anyone? Guys, who all do you all want to shout out before we let you go?
First of all, Ollie and Tony for having me in the team. And you guys at CMS are doing an awesome job. The classic cars are extraordinary. The broadcast is awesome. It's very nice to watch it back. Even on most races, I watch it back just to see what happened during the race, because you barely notice anything when you're driving yourself. And it's been a banger the entire season. So I wanted to thank you all for that.
Awesome. Oliver, Tony, anything to add?
No, he said it all. I completely agree with him on the work done on those cars, and they are fantastic to drive. So, yeah, looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, I reiterate. Excuse me. I reiterate, Tony and Ilko, fantastic work from you guys. But I'm going to be soppy here, and the one person I do need to thank, as well as Tony and Ilko, is my wife, for constantly putting up with myself and the team, who occasionally message her and get her involved in some of the banter and the ruthless mocking of me.
We're not doing that.
Well, that's Mike mostly, but
yeah.
But no, it's team effort.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, guys, congratulations on the team. Congratulations on the win, and congratulations on the Drivers' Championship. We're going to let you all go rest, relax, get ready for this big reveal here in just a few minutes.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And we are going to pull down one Div 3. Big name, big deal. Secures it on the final round against Dahlgren and Sellers. Makes it his 5th win of the season, his 9th podium of the season. Hasn't finished lower than 8th place, other than, well, Daytona round 1, which we don't talk about. Nicholas Kirsten, you are the winner of this race by an astounding minute, and you are the overall winner in the Div 3 championship. How does it feel?
Yeah, feels good. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. Yeah, let's say halfway through the season, because I think I had 0 points after the first 3 races. So yeah, of course, very happy.
It's amazing to watch through. Where did the pace come from? How did you pull out a 60-second lead?
I don't know. The car just felt very good, and of course, some of the 3 competitors started the way from the back of the grid, so that obviously helped a little bit to pull out a gap at the beginning. Yeah, but I think it was very consistent pace throughout the race, and yeah, that paid off.
Awesome. And Nicholas, kind of looking at your season as a whole, it's been a very, very good season, especially when you consider the first 3 rounds and how those went down for you. What are your expectations? What do you, or no, not what's your expectations? How do you feel reflecting on this year as a whole?
Yeah, as I said, I'm very happy with the race wins and championship win, and it was great fun all year to race with the other guys. Really, really fun.
Awesome. And Nicholas, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Thanks just to everyone, to participants, to the organizers, the guys who built the mod and made all that possible. Thank you to you guys in the commentator place. Yeah, looking forward to the next season.
Awesome. And thank you, Nicholas. We'll reveal the season in a few minutes. Congrats again on the win, on the championship, and we'll catch up with you later.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we do have to pull in our team winners for Div 3, which is Emmy Racing Ferrari. We've got Timon Suvic handy. and we've got Alexander Schulz handy. So no Magnus Dahlgren to be found here, but hey, 2 of the 3 team members are here. Guys, how's it feel to win the team championship?
Magnus doesn't feel so well, so he is excused. He has some headaches. He went to bed early, I guess, so that's, sorry.
We feel great.
Well, yeah, of course, feels nice. Marcus was, of course, the quickest out of all of us. I guess I was just consistent, kind of always in the points, I guess. Not every time, but yeah, great fun.
Yeah, and guys, you all were the only championship that was mathematically secured coming into this race. How does that feel?
Well, we asserted our dominance, and nah, just kidding. I guess luck was on our side in the end as well.
Absolutely. 3 seasons in, this is your first championship. Are we expecting championship number 2 next year for the team?
Yes, that's
Definitely.
our main goal, I guess.
Yeah, I even missed 8 races this season, so still we won the championship. So for
Yeah,
next
if Alex
season,
would be here more often, then we would be more dominant.
Awesome. And Alexander, on behalf of the team, is there anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go and we do the big reveal for next year's cars?
for sure, I'd like to thank everyone. It was a great season. It was a hell of fun to drive these cars, and I know it's a lot of work that we can have racing each and every weekend. So I thank the whole team and everybody who helps and works for us to realize to have such a great season.
Awesome. And a big shout out to you guys. Thank you all. We'll catch up with you later. Hopefully we see you on the track again next year, but we're going to let you go and we're going to do a couple of housekeeping things before we call this one a final broadcast.
Thanks a lot.
Alrighty. See you next season.
See you next season. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. All right. And with that being said, it leaves 2 things left to do. One is to thank everyone that's followed this entire season and everyone that's watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bells to both the CMS Racing and the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. It makes what we do here possible, and it supports what we do here. And I think the second thing that's left to do is a big reveal.
That's right, Bradley. We're very excited to present this this wonderful trailer for next year. There's been a ton of work going into the cars. They're still working on them, in fact. And I mean, just the incredible amount of effort that's been going into it. I know that Jerry, George, John, they've put it, so much into it every single day, in and out. All of the testers, you'll see their names listed on the video when it goes through. I mean, just everyone has just really pulled it together. I can't thank them enough, for everything that they've done. Ben Vasilis, Scar, Pope. I mean, they've thrown a bunch together. Becky, John Meyer, Adam Gray. I mean, they've all just done a tremendous job in pulling this one together, and the modern one, which we should have that reveal coming. I want to say probably by next weekend, if all things go as they should, and then we'll be able to have some test races going through the end of the month and through the month of January.
Amazing. Well, Paul Glover, you've got the hand on the magic button. Let's reveal the VWSC Historics for next year. That's right. The 2025 VWSC Historic Series. We're taking it to 1985. It's going to be absolutely amazing. If you're wondering where we're taking those cars, let's pull this calendar up. Let's give you everything all at once. 1985 World Sports Car Championship Storm Gang Simulation. Here it is. And this is what you want to know. The 8th of February is when we'll kick it off at Daytona. Sebring, the 8th of March. 29th of March, Mugello. 3rd of May, Le Mans. 5th of July, Monza. 26th of July, Silverstone. Hockenheim on the 9th of August. Mosport on the 23rd of August. Spa, 4th of October. Brands Hatch, the 18th of October. Fuji, 1st of November. And we'll end it at Sandown on the 6th of December, running concurrent with MNRL. Preseason race to be decided. If you want more info on that, be sure to check out the CMS Racing Discord, where I'm sure the announcements will be there. But Ross Smith, we're going to the 80s, baby.
Heck yeah. My year of entry into life. So this is extremely exciting. You know, there's been a huge demand for this. We've been able to put some really great cars together in conjunction with Virtual Le Mans, ODS, and you know, most of the grid is going to be made up of our own custom work, which we're very proud of. Hadley Rizky, who's been doing an awesome job on the 3D, he's been putting it together there. So they're going to look tremendous. They're going to feel really good. The cars are already coming together really nicely. I mean, even just playing them with the keyboard, when I'm just testing out graphical things, it's just like, oh man, this is good. And Scar's been doing a really great job putting the sounds together to just, I mean, you get into the cockpit and it's incredibly immersive. You just kind of sit there and go, ooh, yeah, this is going to be good.
I'm so excited for this. I can't even think straight right now. I'm so excited. Talk about the different classes that are going to be in. Of course, you know, do you all have Group C1, C2, and Group B and GTPs, or what's the class composition?
So we're going to keep the categories very simple, and we're using C1 cars. So it'll just be one category of cars, but we will have 3 driver classes. You'll have your Pro-Am, and AM, splitting up the field. So a little bit different makeup. All the cars are going to be very similar in terms of performance. But the one thing that's going to stand out, especially about this era, is the way that fuel consumption is. Because back what WEC was doing at the time, FIA, they said, you know what? You only get so much fuel per race that you're allowed to have. Any more than that, and you're disqualified. So we're going to be replicating a very similar approach. So as we watch the cars go along, it's going to be kind of akin to the way that you see Formula E now, where you've got only so much energy that you can use. So it's like, okay, who's going to be the best at making the most of what they have?
I'm so excited, Ross. So glad to be here for the big reveal. Is it February yet? Like, that's kind of where my mind's at now. I'm kind of just like, all right, this is exciting.
We'll have some races beforehand. Just look out for some announcements coming up here very shortly, and we'll actually have we're going to try and aim for at least 2 preseason races to get everybody acquainted with what's going on with the cars, what they're kind of feeling out, and to get some initial in-traffic feedback on everything that's going on, so we can make those tweaks and have a really good entry into the season.
It's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing to see. Sagar, how do you feel knowing that
I am super excited.
Year...
This is absolutely an amazing lineup. Daytona, Sebring, Mugello, Le Mans, Monza, Silverstone, Hockenheim, Mosport, Spa, Brands Hatch, Fuji, and Sandown. You basically went through my head of perfect tracks to take these cars to. Mugello being my all-time favorite. I am super thrilled and cannot wait to be a spectator and or participant of one of these races. And these classes of cars as well have got to be absolutely some of the most choice that you could possibly pick. And to hear continuously that your team is working on creating, modifying, and making these vehicles perform as they should. And then you throw in the ringer of, by the way, you only have a certain amount of energy that you're able to deploy over an entire race, is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to being a spectator and or participant of this race. You guys are putting on an amazing production. Thank you so much for having us. I am absolutely thrilled and cannot wait for February of next year.
This is going to be absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to put our cap on this 2024 1964 VWSC series. Again, coming in 2025, it's 1985 VWSC. This is going to be absolutely amazing. You're not going to want to miss it, and you know exactly where to find it. But every good season has to end somewhere. It came down all the way to the wire, but in the end, this is how things settled in. Championships were decided today. Heartbreaks were made today. But it all has to end somewhere. On behalf of everyone here at the JP Broadcasting Network, I want to give a personal thanks to everyone who has participated in this season. James, Paul, Sagar, we had Alex Goldschmidt come in. We had Ewan O'Leary has been in. We've had many, many people that have participated and commentated. Becky Ely has commentated on a race as well. You know, we've had so many people in and out of this booth, in and out of the broadcast team that have just helped make sure that this came to the screen. So thank you to all of them. Big thank you to every single person that's watched up and down Stacy Scott's game. Reese, Vuda de Bruin is in chat right now. Everyone that has watched and commented and interacted and made what we do here possible. Big shout out to Storm Gang, to CMS for hosting this. And, you know, none of this would be possible without them. But, of course, the holiday break shows up. Ross Smith won't take one, but I think everyone deserves one for a little bit of time. So keep your eyes out for preseason testing for next year. We're going to round this one out here from Paris. On behalf of Paul Glover in the booth, on behalf of Sagar here, who has started his VWSC and Sports Car Championship career with me here, on behalf of the JP Broadcasting Network as a whole, my name is Bradley Dalton. We've taken you start to finish since the start of the season, and be sure to tune in for 2025, where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.